Hold it.
Oh,
The man walked in.
look at this distinguished gentleman.
Forgive my tardiness.
No, we were waiting for you.
Okay, we are going to begin the September 28th comprehensive committee meeting. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did they get this?
Pass it down to,
You're supposed to take
I
one
did. I
and pass it
down.
down.
No, I got it back.
I gotta go that way.
One side and it's gotta go back.
Here you go.
The old-fashioned
There,
snake,
in
right?
case anybody else shows up.
One end to the other.
Okay, I will ask if we could do a roll call, starting with my far right, and we'll go right around the room.
Kevin Swoboda.
Karen Finnegan.
Ann McGoy.
Eddie Colon.
Fred Cantor.
Greg Totino.
Liz Axelson, CPL, planning consultant.
John Foreman.
Megan Lo Cicero, Drake Loeb, PLLC, attorneys for the committee.
James Walker, Glenham, New
I'm
York.
gonna have to share the mic.
Okay, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Elizabeth.
Okay, all right. This is meeting number, I don't know, 30-something or 20-something of this CPU committee, I'm pretty sure. It's been a lot of meetings. My name is Liz Axelson. I'm the planning consultant to the Comprehensive Plan Update, or CPU Committee. We've been working for many months. We've accomplished a lot of great comments from folks that are part of the committee that live right here in the community and have been volunteering a lot of hours. Anyway, I'm going to just quickly touch base so the committee isn't wondering. There are a few pretty big to-dos, not so bad, of things that need to be done and or written into the draft CPU. So if you're looking at that document that I believe I sent out last Thursday, and wondering, hey, when is this going to happen? I know that I need to add in, for the written responses, for the paper survey questionnaires, I need to tabulate those and put they're tabulated, but I need to put the tabulation into one document. And that's going to be, as you recall, there was a CPU survey summary. Some of the pages look like this, and that is from the SurveyMonkey platform. So I'm going to annotate that to add in the paper responses. So that's one thing, if you've been wondering. We did have a meeting with Michael Tremper. Was that last time? Or
Yeah.
It was 2 weeks ago. Okay. And it was very informative, and I'm going to do a write-up of all that he told us and send it to him to have a look and make sure it's accurate. And that information will also be incorporated into the comprehensive plan update text.
Will he be, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
will he be participating in that October 8th event?
I
the
hope
open
so.
house?
Absolutely.
I mean, he was dynamite. Like, he really.
Oh, Mike to be
Yeah.
at that.
really-
Absolutely.
Really
You know what?
spelled a lot of things out. I don't know if we can do that because he's not part of the committee.
Yeah,
We can extend an invitation.
absolutely.
Ask him to attend.
I'll email him a
take care of it.
flyer. Oh, will you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Make it so.
okay,
As long as there's no emergency.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah, he was great, very knowledgeable. And it was the issue of what can be developed or redeveloped on existing parcels. The committee was talking about the lack of water and sewer right from the get-go.
Right.
And he kind of confirmed
Yeah.
that there are issues there and that something needs to be put in the plan so that, that can be studied further and funding can be sought and all that business. So, good, yes, he should be there. And then I also need to do a description of the comprehensive plan update process that the committee's been in so far. I did do a write-up about how the committee developed the comprehensive plan update survey questionnaire. So that's already in there. Later on, after the comprehensive plan update text is in better shape, and you can always be commenting on it, I will, once I feel like the committee has given me a decent number of comments and we're getting close to where the text isn't going to change a whole lot, I can reformat the whole thing to insert photographs, because that was a comment right up front. But the issue is that trying to put those photographs in now and work around them don't make no sense, in plain speak.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I'll start working on the procedural items, which would be creating a full environmental assessment form for the adoption of the comprehensive plan update. And that can be pretty simple because it is adoption of a policy, and preparing anything that the planning board needs, the town board needs to do to initiate the process of environmental quality review or SECRA review. I'll work with Megan on that, so she can check whatever I'm writing, make sure that the format and content is okay, public hearing notices, things like that. Okay? So those are some hunks. And then I guess the first item on the agenda is the open house. And
I have a question just before we
Okay.
get any further. So I remember seeing, or it's actually in here in the new one too, so school districts and things like that. I know it's towards the back of this whole thing, but what is the plan with that? Because we have until the end of the year pretty much to wrap this up. And that might take a little while if we have to get in contact, or whoever is supposed to get in contact with the school districts to give their assessment. So I was just kind of thinking that one through, and I'm like, ooh, if we got just to the end of the year, that should be, if we need information from them, we might need to ask sooner versus later.
to be honest, I wasn't really sure what the committee wanted to do with that, because the original framework for this outline that we've added text to was the comprehensive plan of 2009. And if you look at the order of their topics and the order of the topics you have now, they've been shuffled. And what I've done along the way, where there are a lot of comments and concerns about an issue, those items are now some of the front topics. And the ones that I haven't had nearly any comment on have kind of gone toward the end. And I did take a look, because I had an outline where I had written a lot of comments in from the committee and was trying to plug some of those things in. I didn't get done, but I got to the school district item and I wasn't sure what was on anybody's minds. I'm very aware that most school districts in this region are seeing a shrinking population because the baby boomers, babies who are all grown up and having children, or maybe having children, maybe having one, maybe having two. I know people have bigger families, but there is a trend where there are fewer children entering into a lot of these school districts. I don't know that that's the case in Fishkill, but up in Kingston, they're closing schools or reusing them. So honestly, I'm not sure what the committee is thinking about that.
School districts?
If we needed any information from them, it might take a while, and we might need to be done before that information comes in, was my concern. Just like.
It's not anything about the school district, you're just saying they're.
I'm just.
Right, if we,
It's
right,
part of
if
what we're
we want
doing,
input
and
from
so
them.
if we only
That's a
have a
good
couple of
point.
more months to wrap this sucker up.
Right.
School districts getting input from however we're supposed to get that.
But
If
you're
it
gonna-
is from the school districts, I imagine it would require
Time. Yeah,
time.
yeah.
That's my only concern. I see it on here at the back, and I knew it in the back of the other one. And in the other one, in the 09 one, it did say that they talked to certain people in the district and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, ooh, who do we have on here to talk to?
But are you saying
those?
like you're kind of prioritizing like the things that are the biggest issues, and then the stuff that gets put to the end is kind of.
Well,
May or may not.
if I haven't heard much about it, and I'm not, because all along, this whole group has been, had tons of ideas and concerns that have been plugged in to a significant degree. I still need to look through all my notes and see what else there is.
We have 2 school districts.
3.
You're going to, where does Phillipstown come in?
Well, there are, I could not tell you exactly how many houses, but at the very southern end of Fishkill, houses there are served by the Haldane School District.
I'm Haldane.
But it's
Well,
such a
one of my
minor.
property is
yeah,
Haldane.
It's just such a small amount. All right.
But I count big, come on.
Well, it is a small amount.
It is.
And Wappingers has plenty of capacity, but what they do is they move people around. And we don't know, they don't even know what they're gonna be doing. I mean, if you wanna go back 12 years ago, 13 years ago, they were closing Vassar School, they were closing them, all right? Then they kept them open, don't know what they're gonna do in the future. The big one that's having the influx of people is the Beacon School District, all right? We have nothing on the Wapping School District in our town.
Don't we
That's
have a lot
creative.
of townhouses to be built and they'll be occupied and, I mean,
Yeah,
so,
it's
so
the
you
two
are
bed-
looking, and
yeah,
and
but-
so that
but-
would be where my concern was. We have so many more residents coming in, even if there is a downgrade in general population of children, you still have people moving into this area. How many are proposed to be built? 300 here, 300 there, I mean, that's
Well,
to a
so
smaller
can
school
somebody reach out to the 3 school districts and
And
say,
see,
hey,
that's-
we're working
yeah.
on the comprehensive
Can
plan?
somebody
Can you give us some
suggest a contact in each of those, or just?
no
I can do
idea.
that.
Have you called
That's,
us?
again,
I
why
can do
I
that.
bring it
Right,
up.
right,
I'm like,
yeah,
it's gonna
yeah.
take time to figure out who to contact.
Greg's volunteered to make those contacts.
I've volunteered to identify the contacts.
That's what I want, okay.
There it is.
John, are you weighing in that
To the
perhaps?
super-
Elizabeth or I will
Yeah.
get that done.
So it sounds like you guys are both making excellent points, and Elizabeth, I've also read a report, I'm trying to remember from where, and I'm going to ask a colleague of mine, in the entire region on schools and the sort of the migration out because of the empty nesters, as you were stating. There would
And
be.
also the cost of housing, I think.
So, and yes, you have new projects coming in which need to be identified.
So
So
maybe-
Project
there's,
2 bedrooms.
So to me, it makes more sense, like you're saying, to really
To
talk
find
to them
out where
and
we
see.
stand.
Correct.
Because we
Exact-
have to
Yeah.
project into the future.
understood. So
Yeah.
part of that 10-year comprehensive plan we're working on, if we're going to have an impact directly, say, with Wappingers, just as an example, and then Beacon is, starting to, ramp up a little bit there, there's something that needs to be thought about in that regard, so.
Right, and it is information, and generally information.
Very valid
sources
point, Ken.
Take time.
Yeah.
Especially from an outside source. They're not related to the town with the board, you guys have no say on them. So it's an outside entity that we have to get information from. So I'm saying maybe sooner versus later, although it's not a big concern,
Right.
and may
Valid.
not be a concern.
I mean,
but
I mean,
still
would it be
needs to
possible to
Yes.
have somebody come and do a presentation, much like we had on?
We don't even know who to
water?
contact.
Right, well, no, but I'm saying, like,
Let me-
eventually, once that
right.
person is
Here-
identified
Here's a
or
suggestion,
persons.
on, having somebody come in or not. Oftentimes, the school district is going to have some kind of a projected, growth or not study, probably information about, looking at how many facilities or buildings they have and whether
How
they
many
need to
they expect to come
consolidate.
in, that, I
cetera.
don't know how exactly they do it via population.
So I can take a look at that, call the contacts, but let me get clear, there's Beacon City Schools and Wappingers and,
How they-
Haldane.
gotcha.
Like Fred said, I mean, I was in jest, but like Fred said, I think, there's like 2 of us?
There's-
Literally, like
There's
2
no,
of us for the
there's no
Haldane.
position, place in the Haldane where they're gonna have any large,
That are,
development
right, yeah.
because of the
yeah.
terrain and
Yeah, yeah.
everything that's been taken up. All right? I just feel
No,
that.
and
All right.
I'm not saying any which way. I'm not saying it's going up, it's going down. I'm saying we need information for this.
At least have a
report.
pulse on
And it's
it.
going to take some time.
Yeah.
Although it's not a big concern, and it hasn't been, it's still going to take time. That's
Who's
that's
gonna-
all I'm trying to say.
What
Okay,
I-
if we identify
It's
who's
infrastructure like
gonna write the
anything else.
letter, who's gonna contact?
As soon as I have contacts, I will reach out.
And it
What-
should be to the superintendent.
And
Or
that's
Superintendent
precisely
or
what
their
I'm going to
assistant.
That's all it
Yes.
is.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
they will give it to whoever it is. Beacon is a lot smaller. Wapping just has so many
Right.
subs
Yeah.
that
yeah.
who knows where it's going to with them.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know exactly how schools work, but sometimes when you do have a section that's being inflated, they'll defer to another school that doesn't have as many. So then,
That's
you know,
what
you're
they do.
taking from here and putting there. I mean, that's why Wappingers and all that kind of thing, they would know that.
Right.
I think
And
what
they're
I'd like to do
huge.
also, when I reach out to whoever the contact is, that I would like to be able to send them the latest draft text
Yeah.
outline. So if that's okay with the committee, so they can see the direction that
Right.
we're going in.
And even maybe a copy of the section from the last one to see maybe what we would be looking for. From the '09, you know what I'm saying?
Right, as a
So
comparison.
information that was in there
Gotcha. Okay,
as a
sure,
draft, you know what I'm saying?
sure, sure.
So,
Sure.
you know, they know what we're looking for and, you know.
Good idea.
I do have another question that kind of is led from Kevin's question. I do have several comments that I had emailed, but way back, like, you know, kind of at the beginning when we were first making comments, but it doesn't look like they've made it in here. Or should I just re-email them to you, or can I just briefly say? Or you indicate to me
Re-email, but also
when.
tell me,
Okay. Whenever you're ready for us to do that, then I'll make comment.
well, okay. Let's make sure we come back at the end to what are we doing to get the flyer out on the open house. So,
Oh, so you're ready now? Okay.
sure, why not? That's,
So I had mentioned, I am a little bit concerned about mentioning any specific private business in the comprehensive plan with such a broad,
What private businesses in
splashdown.
gotcha.
um,
Okay, so
you
that
know,
could
like
be.
you know, Renegades Duchess Stadium, but that's a county-owned, you know, so.
Okay.
Well, the Dutchess Stadium is a county-owned park, but the Renegades are a private business.
Okay.
They're owned by
so-
Diamond Baseball Holdings.
We could call
so
that
it's
a water
private
park.
organization.
We could call it what it is.
Yeah, you
Oh,
could call it a water
Yeah,
park,
I just-
baseball
I
team,
mean,
et
that's
cetera.
fine, but just any, you know, any, to me, I just
Good.
find that a little bit
Yep, good.
off-putting. So on page 11, let me make sure that it's the same, so that my pages line up, but it's mentioned, is it page 11? This might be a different spaced printout, but the Continental Commons is specified as, it sounds like an approved project, which it's my understanding that probably will be approved. But again, private entity, but it seems in direct conflict with page 1, which is preserving historic heritage. So kind of developing on a historic site.
I had thought that it was an approved project, and maybe they were
God,
going
it's
for
a
an amendment.
battle.
It's a what?
It's a battle.
It is
I think
approved.
I think the
It went
less
to the town board
specifically
for
that we
water and
say
sewer.
about that right now.
Okay, so do you want
Better.
to, should we call it something else?
It's on
Mixed use?
page 12, if you want
Page-
to know.
Thank you, yeah. The spacing is off from.
Okay, yeah. this-
So that was one thing, but, you know,
D.
the walkway across Route 9, that just stopped my heart even thinking of encouraging people to walk across that highway.
You were referring to the rail trail?
No, not the rail trail, but right from where Snook Road, there's going to be
Can I just go back on Continental Commons? Do you want me to call it something else? Or,
Well, just general development, you know, but again.
but not to call it an approved project?
Well, not to call it specifically by its commercial name, it's because it's a private entity. You know, this development is a private business, it's a private entity, so, you know.
Private mixed-use
Whatever,
development?
yeah,
Is that
whatever
what-
you're calling it.
They're supposed to
Yeah.
have special
Okay.
lighting, a special walkway across.
I tell
and
you-
I just don't want to get involved, because where we're going to have the rail trails going across, we're going to have the same problem.
Well,
Route 9,
I
just
will
south.
say this, and I love the
proposal,
crosswalks
yeah.
of the village. And, I mean, it is like, I almost got hit by a truck the other day. I had pressed the button, I was halfway across, and that truck, that was a pickup truck, came barreling down. Of course, I appropriately signaled him to stop.
I'm not
As
sure
you
that
can
would
imagine.
work along Route 9
So you're talking
there.
about a beacon, the Beacon Line rail trail, future rail
No,
trail?
no.
No,
So
in
they
here it says.
specify in here.
Can you give me a,
Page
where-
D as
Page
well.
12,
D,
section
A
or
D.
pedestrian crossing should be created
A
across from
pedestrian
this
crossing.
entrance to the east side of the Route 9 at Van Wyck Lake Road. Also check spelling at Van Wyck Lake Road.
That
does
is,
it have an E on the end?
No, it's a Y instead of an I.
you know, to me,
Oh,
that
yeah.
is an invitation.
It's spelled correctly, two lines down. 3 lines
Fine,
down.
okay. Okay, so you're saying there shouldn't be a crossing there?
There is a proposed crossing with the approval of the.
I think there should be a bridge, a walking bridge going across.
Okay.
Like, if we're really seriously talking about safety, and if this project is going through, don't roll your eyes at me, Mr. Cantor.
No, I know you're on this, and one of your things is to stop final comments.
No, listen,
So I
regardless of
don't-
whether it goes through or not, that is a death trap. And who's gonna take responsibility if somebody gets hit by a car? The town?
In a
Or
I was gonna say,
transportation-
and I think we just want to make sure that you're clarifying that you're talking about pedestrian crossing there would be a death
Correct.
trap.
Right.
Just
So-
wanted for
Correct.
clarification.
Yes.
So,
Correct.
so.
I mean, they have walkable
a bridge
bridges,
over
they
is a
have,
preference.
You know, something, I just can't imagine
It
somebody
might be a
walking.
necessity. So
Right.
here's a similar thing,
And that
No,
happens.
no, no,
on-
I know,
What I'm
anywhere
gonna
on Route
say
9.
is, we
Anywhere
did
on
talk
Route
about the
9.
rail trail, and you actually brought it up
I
as
know.
having to be a bridge, because you can't go under and you can't go across. So
I
this
know.
is, and so what I'm gonna bring up is,
Over rail.
what's the college all the way up
Liz,
above the
I'm
campus?
gonna weigh in in a
Marist.
second, maybe.
They
Right.
tried the
Oh.
same thing.
Right,
Remember, it's
right.
two ways this way, that way. And they said, oh, we're gonna put these nice, just like the village did with their signs, and it did not work. They actually wound up having to build bridges over it,
No, I think they went under.
or under,
Yeah.
whichever.
They-
I know
they
they were
did
talking
go
about
with the
over and then
tunnel.
under.
Yeah.
So they wound up going under. We obviously don't.
I'm not necessarily sure that from a comprehensive plan standpoint that we should be identifying any specific method, but simply say that
I'm saying
pedestrian
that
safety
it's
should and must
paramount.
be paramount
Yes.
for any planning of future pedestrian access
Right,
for
and we're actually
developments,
spelling
especially
it out
along
in
Route
here
9.
is, I think, what she's trying to say. We're
Right.
spelling it out as a pedestrian walkway.
Right.
Yeah.
If I-
And
So
we're
I'm
talking
saying
about-
maybe we just want to be more generic.
Well,
and say pedestrian
you can be
safety.
generic, or you could say that during consideration of the design, that a overpass, a pedestrian overpass should be considered. But there may be other considerations, so
Yeah,
if
that's
you've
why I
got
think we
some
don't want
traffic.
to necessarily name a specific type of pedestrian crossing. I'm simply saying that pedestrian crossings, all options should be considered. So I don't think we necessarily want to say they should consider a pedestrian overpass. I think we should say that pedestrian safety is paramount and
Right.
all
'Cause
feasible
they haven't
options
even-
should be
Look,
considered.
9D2, one of
I
the
think
things
that's
that
very
came
well
off
put.
on 9D,
Exactly.
right, was people complaining that they have to cross over.
Mm-hmm.
9D, we also have it at ShopRite. We've heard
Yeah.
that, even though that is
Right.
in the village
Right.
itself.
Yeah, there
It
was
is
a
still-
very tragic accident there earlier this year.
It's horrible, and
Very hard.
I just,
And-
you know,
and-
you're
and-
taking 4 lanes
Yeah,
down
and
to
so
one
anything that has to
in
go
a short
over that
order.
Route 9 corridor with the amount of traffic and its size, I don't think just a walkway, even with lights, would be sufficient.
No way.
So I do agree, but it would have to be figured out what it
Whatever,
was.
yeah, I mean, we don't have to
We
design
don't
it.
have to decide it,
Right.
but I
Right,
think
exactly.
just
Only
leave
make the
it
recommendations.
broad.
Yep,
Right.
Yeah.
That the safest possible,
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying I don't think we want to
Pedestrian
necessarily
crossing.
name any specific
Right.
type of crossing, and just simply say that, especially in high-traffic volume areas with pedestrian access, pedestrian safety must be paramount, and all options for safe pedestrian crossing
Yeah.
should be considered during the planning phase.
yeah.
So, and then, my other question. So the Fishkill Golf Course and adjacent site, it's in here, and this is where I'm a little bit confused. I mean, it almost says that, it almost looks like we are trying to direct specific, and I suppose that's what our purpose is to really direct, different projects, but it's suggesting another warehouse adjacent to a current warehouse.
Where?
Page 20, so maybe that's on page 21. Let's see. Talking about the different parcels.
Okay, okay. If you're looking, are you looking at the current outline?
Yes,
Okay.
and this is the thing, I was looking at it on my computer, and so my pages and these pages don't
Gotcha.
line up.
Right.
So you're probably on 18. It's 17 and 18. It starts at 17 with the description of the 350,000 square foot.
Yeah,
And then it moves on into 18, talking about, I guess, what you're referring to as a, I guess there's a 47,000 foot.
well, it was in regards to the
Sorry, that was a
Fishkill
Brockway, my bad.
golf course, and that, they might want to encourage another warehouse.
The reason I sent you guys the PDF is that it's locked in place. And
That's confusing me too, yeah.
That's what this print, so
Okay.
if you can give me a guide here where
You
you
sent
are.
the Word document, too.
Right. You
There's a
sent
Word
it in
document.
Word,
No,
too.
no.
Okay, it's the
I know I
bottom
did,
paragraph
yeah.
of page 19.
But if you print it differently and it's in your version of Word, it might
Yes,
print
okay.
differently. So
Another
is there a
site-
header that's
It's
near
page
there?
19, bottom
Yeah,
paragraph.
bottom paragraph. The analysis is the Fishkill Golf Course off Route 9, zoned planned industrial, significant areas of wetlands. So again, I feel like we're brought back to really upholding the legislation and the law of protecting these lands. And so this is recommending in here, to potentially limit the amount of industrial commercial, and let's see, something about no farm submittance this time.
I think I'm reading.
With a large warehouse facility similar to that proposed on the adjacent former Duchess Mall site. So, to me, I think my concerns are, this is the welcoming corridor into Fishkill. Do we want to be a truck hub of warehouses?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm just reading further down the paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
It indicates that it could potentially yield a maximum of 500,000 square feet,
Right.
which would not include necessary parking, but it doesn't appear to be a reasonable type of amount of development that could actually be built. So
On
I
this
think what you're
site.
saying is that the theoretical maximum versus what would realistically be feasible aren't the same, and that
Oh,
a
and
low-density use such as a golf course
rezoning
is appropriate.
based on the environmental features. Excellent.
Yeah.
And in here it says, town board review the current zoning of the site and determine whether rezoning to a different zoning district would be prudent based on environmental features and site constraints of this property.
Excellent, yeah.
So it's kind of building a case. And actually, Jonathan had done the large parcel analysis, and there are a number of them that he's looking at
Right.
as
Liz,
if
can
they
you-
should be
Yeah,
recreational.
yeah.
Off the top of your head, do you know if that parcel is included in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District?
No, I don't, not off the
You
top
don't
of my
know?
head.
Okay,
No.
got it. Because I would imagine that if we're talking about a rezone there, that whatever the change in the zoning for that parcel might be should reflect the fact that it's within an Aquifer Protection Overlay District, because I imagine that would have
Well, it would-
development implications.
Well, yeah, I mean, the
I mean, it's-
aquifer protection overlay goes and crosses over a lot of different zoning
Right.
districts.
Actually,
Yeah, I know
the
that,
aquifer.
it's geographical as opposed to district by district.
It's based, yeah, on the resource, yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
That particular parcel, though, where it's located, is right on the sewer and water lines going into Beacon. So that wouldn't even be a problem. Whatever they develop it for would be probably hooking in. And that's if they ever did,
There's a lot of wetland in there.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I was
yeah,
gonna say.
I
It
mean,
has
let's
nothing to do with
protect our
the
jewels.
water or sewer,
Yeah, I
it more
know.
has to do
Right.
with.
I'm going to take my mic over and point.
the aquifer.
Can I take
over.
this one?
She gets to
Or
go
should
to
I
a-
grab that one?
I would say grab that one.
Working, to be honest with you.
Didn't
Oh,
use the mouse
really?
last time we were here.
They are working to record us, but we don't have the speakers on because we don't have an audience this evening. Or I'm entirely wrong, which is also possible.
So I think, you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure the parcel that we're talking
Liz,
about.
It's
What?
right
The
there.
camera is behind you, I'd say stand to the other side.
That was easy.
It's graceful.
Thank you. All those dance lessons came in handy. So I'm pretty sure we're talking about, this is the Duchess Mall site, what's
You
left
got
of
it.
it?
You got it.
And it's this one right
It is.
behind. But also, if you look at that same parcel, it's okay. Good thing I didn't turn around and step on your toes.
I like stepped like yourself.
Well,
And I
anyway.
were just talking about
um,
safety.
Thank you, Vanna.
You're light on your feet. Okay, so that same parcel here, what we've got is a New York State DEC wetland. That's what's handy about a map like this. Putting them all together doesn't make sense.
Way too many colors.
Way too many colors, right. So you've got a DEC wetland that's outlined in red. Oh, do I need to turn over here because there's a camera? And there are also some federal wetlands right in the middle of it and on the northern side of it. So there's a certain amount of area, you know, that doesn't appear to be constrained, but again, there's probably a channelized wetland. It probably, at some point, was farmland here, and a lot of times what happens with farmland is that wetlands get channelized. There's a big ditch, and you end up with some drier land because it's drained. So it has some development issues to begin with. Is it already a golf course?
It is a.
I thought-
it's-
I thought
it's
so.
It's a small golf course.
Right.
That's par 3, and all that land over there used to be a bean field. And the reason it was a bean field, because beans need a lot of water.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Also makes it easy to keep the golf course green without needing to spend a lot of money on water.
Right.
So the legend for that specific piece indicates that it's an unconfined mid-yield. Does that sound about right?
What do you mean? Hun?
You're looking at the aquifer map? I mean, does it show that it's in the aquifer overlay district? There's a
So,
key at the bottom.
yeah.
I'd have to walk over there and see. I'm going to leave this here.
Oh, Liz,
There you go.
looking at that map on the left,
Hang on.
okay. Pen it back.
Oh, yeah, it's an apple, sorry. So, we're talking the, can't see,
I mean, they're going to have, if they're,
this, Village of Fishkill.
no, isn't this it? That's the.
Correct,
Shoal
exactly,
Shopping Center.
correct.
So they're in yellow, if you can. So it's
Unconfined, mid-yield.
which I think the primary aquifer region is the green stuff. But, I mean, I don't want to get too hung up on one site, because they would have to examine that.
Right.
And I think that's when you see the write-up. I mean, we're kind of lucky that Jonathan had the time. He's looked at a lot of these
Yeah.
sites because he's been involved with the planning board for so many years, so he's very aware. I mean, theoretically, any project that comes before the planning board should be looked at for all of these
Right.
things. Even without the zoning, just from the State Environmental Quality Review Environmental Assessment Form should, you know, if you fill it out correctly online using the New York State DEC platform, it fills a lot of that stuff in. So it would-
So the other map that you provided us, there was a number 3, which you just looked at, that was adopted.
Yep.
And then you gave us a number 4, which was also adopted. And the legend shows that it's a solid green across the board, that the aquifer protection overlay zone.
Yep.
That it's in.
Yep.
Just to,
And again, I'm going to, unless I'm needed here at the maps, I'm going to go back here.
And I do have just one more comment.
That's good. I just want to conclude that. So in the large parcel analysis that Jonathan did, some of the parcels are recommended for rezoning to a sort of recreational zoning that would sort of preserve whatever open space use they have now based on a lot of those constraints. So,
You also recommended institutional zoning as well, or did that change since the last time I looked at it? Because you were talking about the, if I remember correctly reading it, was the hospital, the Veterans Hospital. You had mentioned something about maybe considering changing that into industrial, not industrial.
institutional,
Yes.
that's a possibility.
Right.
That's a
And I-
possibility.
I don't
What's
remember
the zone now?
It was in the paperwork that she had sent. I think it was Jonathan actually who set it all up.
Yes.
Right. And it was very detailed. It was
Yeah.
very good. Kind of laid it all out.
Yep.
You know, how many acres it was, what it was, whether it had water or sewer hookup, all that stuff. It was really well done. I imagine that's
yeah.
where I got it from, was his
Right,
thing.
Jonathan, yeah.
And
that
then
got
he
plugged
made,
in.
in that was a couple of recommendations. One was recreational, one was institutional.
Right.
Was there a third one, or?
That I don't remember off the top of my head, but
So
just to
Jeffrey-
say a
Which site
quick,
is that you're referring?
It was one of the handouts that, or not handouts, one of the email attachments that she was sent out before the last meeting.
right. I do want to say a word, though, about institutional zoning. Red Hook has an institutional zone, and it's based primarily around Bard College. So it could be an institutional zone. It's also a great zoning district if you have, say, an existing summer camp facility. Because one of the goals that any town should have would be to try to keep that as an open space use. And by open space use, that could be anything from what you have at, I'm going to say
that
it
was
wrong,
the Fresh
Stony
Start Fund.
Point, Castle Point, because it's a hospital facility. It has some green, what?
And did you also-
Stony Kill.
And did you also do
Sharp.
the camp?
Right,
Sharp.
Sharp, yeah.
that's
Sharp.
another one.
Conservation. I never know what to call it.
Which is.
I call it the
that
Fresh Air
giant
Fund. They corrected
area
it.
in the
It's
box.
okay.
in the southeast corner.
Yep.
Damn it, it got it.
Yes, yes. So that is something to look at. And
Yeah.
so just kind of getting back to the mechanics of doing a comprehensive plan, trying to make your objectives as specific as appropriate, knowing that at the end of all this, I still have to add an implementation plan that kind of gives like a laundry list of what are the first priorities to start studying and working on. Because if you're going to look at rezoning either the entire town or, a specific type of area, you're going to have to study the existing land use, all the environmental features, weigh it against the needs of the town, come up with take a look at some sample zoning,
Impact, yeah.
and then do a planning and environmental review to see where that takes you. So,
Would it be
So all
that
these
in depth? Because why I'm asking is the recommendations were based on places that are already used as that.
right, yes,
So they're already used like that, so changing
So-
it to a different zone that we would want it, if anything happened to it, would stay in that genre.
and I'm gonna flip over to the zoning map, so you can see that, because if the zoning of such a site is left really wide open, any number of things could happen.
Right.
A lot of times, a lot of communities will have a low-density residential zoning district, and that allows a lot of different uses, which it should. So, for example, in the town of Kent, they have R80, which is 80,000 square feet, which is just under 2 acres. And they allow low-density, 2-acre, almost 2-acre lots for homes as a minimum. But they also allow nursing homes and institutional uses. So sometimes those things dovetail very nicely. And if you have a site that's already an institution,
Right.
you want to do your best to try to keep it
In that same.
in that same concept, so that you end up with sites where there's maybe one big building or 2 big buildings and a lot of green space and a little bit of parking, that kind of thing. That's a nice thing to be friendly to, because then you're not getting another high-density housing place, if that's the kind of site that should be protected from that.
I did like the reference of the mines once they, I guess, finish up, I don't know, whatever. You know, potentially going back to green space, you know,
Yeah.
that would be a challenge, but yeah, I think that would be very good. So, my last comment would be, I know that in the survey, there was significant interest in animals in the town. And I think it, you know, going off of that, it is important to acknowledge, even if it's just a simple statement that the town will, you know, the objective of the town is to consider X, Y, and Z. You know, I made a presentation to the town of Wappingers on Monday, and I was blown away, because I went to present the project and, the program, and they were like, they just took it and ran, and they're like, we need to change legislation. You know, there's so much dog reference, and there's nothing protecting cats, there's, you know, and I'm not, I mean, for me, it's cats because I run a rescue, but, you know, I think generally speaking, there was a significant concern regarding animals in the town. And so I would definitely like to see something.
I got 3 bears in my house.
is
in my
that
yard.
3 bears?
3 bears.
I don't do bears, I'm sorry. I'm not coming and trapping
Was it
them.
a mama, a papa, and-
I'm not coming and capturing them and taking them away.
And was your porridge too hot or too cold?
I don't know. And then we just had 6 turkeys fly overhead.
Oh, that's
I mean,
amazing.
I think we're back to the old days now.
Wouldn't that be nice in that
Most of
regard?
the
Yeah.
DDTs leaving the environment, so
Yeah.
yes. it's-
Karen, can I get,
Still Gloria.
you know, if you had something that you presented at
Sure.
the town of Wappinger,
Well, I think.
if you're willing to share it?
Yeah, I would definitely share
Because it
that.
would be, you know, if we could add some objectives to the comprehensive
Yeah.
plan update,
I
unless
think-
you have some other verbiage.
I do,
that you'd
you
like?
know, I mean, I
Okay.
think that there's certain ways, like the program that I presented to them and that the town also enacted a couple of months ago is very specific.
Okay.
So I think just something in broader terms, you know, just that I mean, there are different townships that are enacting, like, for example, that animals are sentient beings entitled to respect and consideration, protection from abuse, neglect, and cruelty, and the maximization of their welfare. So, just something, it doesn't have to pinpoint who or what, or, you know, but
Do we
something
have that
just.
already in our zoning?
You
We
know,
don't We didn't
there's mention
Okay.
of dogs, and that's it.
Is
And- or
this-
There's general, like, animal leash
Yeah,
law,
because
but
we
there's,
can't have
there's really
chicken.
nothing.
And Wappingers, you can't have chickens,
Right.
all right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if we have that here.
No, I was very impressed with the requirements for people to have chickens in Fishkill. I mean, there's space, you have to have predator proof, made my heart sing, looking at it, it really did. It was
I know that came in front
excellent.
of the town board a little while ago,
Yep.
last
Oh,
year.
yes,
Yeah.
that was it, that was a little bit of a different situation.
That was a different situation. Yeah,
Yeah.
with the chickens, was before that.
Right.
You have to have a permit, and then
Right,
they come and
right.
inspect the area.
Yeah, but, you know, and so something in just general terms like that is, you know, how is the town going to consider as the trends of society shift? You know, how are we going to address the welfare of animals that are living in our town?
We're very unfortunate that we don't have any farms left. Like I said, we have 2 farms, one of them was owned by the state, and we have one, quote, horse farm. All right? Now, a couple other people say they're farms, but they're not farming it, so.
Well, you're raising bears in your backyard.
Yeah.
We
What do you
consider
call that?
A farm.
You better check the zoning on that.
Yeah.
I also had the coyotes going off, but coyotes I hope are in the Wappinger side of it.
Got a whole zoo.
I know.
Sounds like you need a special use permit there. Frank.
Karen, if I find your email, I'm
Ann,
assuming.
Karen.
Right.
It's all right, it would get to me eventually.
It says Greg and Becky, actually.
That's right.
Oh, that's what you guys were referring to earlier.
Yeah,
Oh.
I will reach
Okay.
out.
Okay.
I'll send you something. And again, I'm not looking for anything complicated, but just something
No,
to
but a statement.
acknowledge. Like that was something that was significant in the survey,
But
and that
this
should
should
be
be maybe
included.
stated in policy somewhere.
Yeah. No, that's why I brought it up, is because it's
Because I
really
know I
not
read it
in here
before.
at all.
I read it before,
Yeah.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
Would you think of maybe a blurb in the vision?
I don't know.
Is that at the
That's what
bottom
I'm
of the
saying.
first page?
Right, yeah, no, I saw that, I'm not sure if it should be, like, there's other sections where it say, a goal.
Okay.
Would it be a goal or part of the vision? I mean, I'm just looking for some kind of inclusion.
Are you looking for more the domestic animals? I believe you're talking about just domestic
Well,
animals.
yeah,
Because we
I
have
think
the-
it's,
We have the state.
exactly, the
pushes towards-
DEC,
They want us to have farms,
right.
so.
Right. Well, so, I mean, there's agriculture, there's wildlife, there's domestic, and then there's things that fall
We
between the
used to have
cracks.
something about how many acres you had to have per horse.
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
I don't
yeah.
remember if it's in the zoning here or
Right,
not.
right,
5 acres.
Is it 5
I'm
acres per
wondering-
horse?
yeah.
Is it per horse?
So, even something as general as saying the
What about-
town's goal is to look at these things and acknowledge that we can beef that up a little bit.
What about in section C? I'm looking on page 23, create great places for people and animals. And then we could add something into that section.
What page?
23.
23.
Along with
Create great
photographs.
places for people.
And animals.
Oh, I don't see and animals.
No, I'm
suggesting
I'm
adding-
suggesting putting that in.
Sorry,
wouldn't
I'm
that
like,
be
I
a-
don't see that.
Because in there,
Like, what?
Yeah, I
Then
mean,
we could add an
something,
extra objective or an
Right.
extra bullet
Yeah.
point under the objective.
yep,
yep,
I think that's a good thought.
yeah.
because all of those things,
They're
talking
important
about
to people,
parks and,
I think that they're important to people and they all kind of go together, fit together.
Just that I'm looking at now, we also have an extra park here that you don't have in here.
an extra what?
P-A-R-K.
Oh, I've listed a park that doesn't exist?
No, there's one that you haven't listed.
I don't know if it's the old Girl Scout camp. What do we call it?
Camp Foster.
Camp
Is that a
Foster.
town
Very
park?
good.
Yes.
It is.
Oh, that's,
Yes, I was
yeah,
just
that's
at it today.
great.
He's been around for
That's
a while.
that's a really,
Well
they've really
spotted, Fred.
cleaned that
I was
up.
there today.
Yeah,
walking the
it's
dog,
in here.
so I
This is over by
Has it?
Castle
Camp
Point?
Foster,
It's
9
beautiful.
Old
They really
Castle
have started
Point Road in the
cleaning that up
Brockway
and-
area?
Where?
I'm on
Oh,
page 24.
You
Oh,
missed it,
24?
Fred. You gotta turn the page.
Turn the page.
Oh, it continues to 24.
Fred, you're just a rebel rouser, looking for
Oh,
trouble.
boy.
Okay, sorry.
My bad, bad page break, sorry.
Oh, boy. It's the to be continued.
It's okay, Fred.
Suspense.
You're going to be head of the petting zoo over there.
That's all right.
We just elected.
And, well, I don't know, because we have, where did we put in, because I indicated to you in the past that we have other places that could be and will always probably be a town facility,
You mentioned
That's
behind the
something-
old Barkers, well, we have a
Yeah.
CVS area.
because it's wet, so you're never going to develop it.
Right.
It's good walking, parkland, whatever.
Town has
Yeah.
5 acres back there, I
Yeah.
believe, 5 or
And
better.
I don't know how you even identify it.
Well, I think between Jonathan and I, we've identified some town vacant land
Yeah, this is along
that
the-
doesn't have anything, and it would be along the Beacon line.
Correct.
Okay, so hang on, I'm gonna double check.
I've walked it. It's wet.
I've trapped back there, Fred.
What?
I've
Can you
trapped
swim
back
it?
there.
Can
Be careful
Oh, the
that you don't.
cats?
The cats,
Yeah,
yeah.
don't step into my,
Traps.
Traps.
it's a have a heart trap, so you'll be safe.
Yeah, but if
Unless
it's stuck on
unless
his
it's really
feet.
big.
I have one that would fit you in it,
Elizabeth,
believe
are
me
you
when
trying
I
to
tell you.
identify all
Send a
the
flare.
vacant parcels owned by the
Send a
town?
flare.
Is that the objective?
No,
Here,
what,
man.
what I did is, let me see if I can find it. It's back when we're talking about transportation and pedestrian-related things.
That was going to correlate with the,
Hang on.
the.
The Beacon line.
Trail, if you will.
Yeah.
The Beacon line, so hang on, so I'm back to goal, connect people and places, which is starting on page 11, hang on, so remedies to traffic, and then there's a whole section on the bottom of page 11 that goes all the way through page 12, which describes every place we want sidewalks. Hang on. Let's see. Streets, okay. Then if you go to, at least on the PDF copy, bottom of page 13, objective 6, connect streets and neighborhoods and improve traffic circulation and safety to reduce traffic congestion, and that talks a lot about the beacon line. And if you go to the next page, item 6D, there's a section that begins, established communities and railroads tend to run alongside waterways, so it's natural that neighborhoods and parks are located on or near the Fishkill Creek. This creates opportunities for a series of natural attractions along the future Beacon Line Trail and the creek. And so in there, I'm describing a number of places that connect.
The Hudson Highland State Park, is that the one that's on the south side of 84, just before the
Yes.
exit for Route 9
And,
there?
yeah, and I mean, it connects, but there are wetlands there, but it's not impossible for
No,
them
I
to do
just-
some kind
I
of, yeah.
thought this where it was just a
Yeah.
clarification, that's all.
So I'm trying to note that there's town land there at the end of Steuben Road, which looks like an open field area, and it doesn't appear to have a use, and could be a picnic area. So I'm trying to identify these things that are town-owned, and they might be related to some kind of water or sewer improvement. But that's what that section's about.
Is there any way that we could somehow work in, I guess, a park specified for younger people? You know, like, it's nice, like, you know, we might go and sit and have a sandwich or something and kind of hang out, you know, that's the extent of my excitement. But, you know, maybe for younger people, like a skate park, or, I don't know, what are those darn kids doing
Yeah.
these days?
Okay.
I have no idea.
I had actually.
It's a great idea.
Thought of like a little sprinkler, like in the city has the
No, well,
little
she-
parks with the
Right,
sprinklers, but.
yeah.
She's
that's
talking about a
water.
little older than that. Like,
Yeah.
Skate park.
I was just thinking somewhere to be cool
Yeah,
for
I
the
don't
summer.
know. I don't, what do high school kids
No
do?
matter what age.
Like,
Well,
you know,
They play Fortnite.
that is safe and keeping them out of trouble.
There's a
We
skate park
have-
in Beacon that,
Yeah, that,
know,
does it
that's
get
nice. It's not-
used? And-
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's so, you know, maybe we kind of work
It's
that
not
in with some of
huge, it's
these
like a-
open spaces that we actually, like, I always kind of wondered, you know, I grew up where it was me, my siblings, and two other kids on a very busy highway, and it was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
we were stranded.
Well, and something to consider though,
can't say that.
along those same lines is, if we do get that rail trail, that's biking.
Yeah,
right.
That's
Yeah.
skateboards.
That's everything.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
and it's going
Listen,
across the whole
I
thing.
don't want these teenagers skateboarding when I'm walking, so I want them to have their own
But
spot.
that kind of solves that whole, you know,
Right.
and it,
Yeah.
and it joins pretty much everything, so.
So maybe, you know, something in acknowledging, you know, kind of a universal consideration of different age ranges and activities, not just, I mean, it would be nice, obviously, to have as a green space, and I
Right.
think you can do both.
Right.
But, you know, I also
Some of our
wonder, like,
spaces-
what do kids
okay, but
do?
Some of our spaces
I know what they do.
do that.
Yeah.
There's
They are-
kids that now walk through
Well,
our
no, the
neighborhood
baseball
playing
fields is what I was
basketball.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Doug Phillips Park.
Yeah.
If you've been in Doug Phillips Park recently, they've cleaned it up, they've taken down the tennis court,
which one's
they've
Doug
taken,
Phillips?
all right.
Sorry about the noise.
That's the one on 52, just past the Arrowhead, where it's Blitz.
Right across from the convenience.
Oh,
yes.
yeah, okay.
They're working on that right now.
Great.
They've even made a boat ramp going into the dry creek. No, it's wet now.
It's a
We're still not
vision.
going.
Listen, it's all a
All right.
vision.
So there are a lot of things,
Right.
they put a playground in there now.
Great.
So it was only, you know, and they did it a few years ago. They're
Yeah, John,
supposed to
could
be
you
redoing-
give an update on the park that's going in at Doug Phillips? John? I know the town board was speaking about it at their last meeting.
I I don't, I'm not up to date on.
Is that,
exactly.
is it Carmine who's
Yeah,
looking
I
at?
just want to make
Carmine,
sure
okay.
that,
So do you want a blurb just stating
yeah, it's just
to promote
Kenya, grab the mic.
promote an
Active
inclusive
Kenya,
child
get a mic in.
activities?
It's not
Put it right in your face.
Oh, so we can hear each other. So it's a park. Does it work?
Just introduce yourself.
Oh, hi, I'm Kenya Gadsden. I arrived a little late. I was in the city, sorry. So it's the park that Councilwoman Daniele and I started working on when I was on the town board. And so now her and Councilperson Isvan are now working on it. So they are putting in like a playground. We wanted it to be an accessibility park is what we initiated.
Oh, right, yeah,
And so because we were so close to Julie's Jungle Gym in East Fishkill, there was a problem getting it because it wasn't written into our comprehensive plan. So that's when I reached out to Liz to ask if we can add something into the comprehensive plan that would allow us to then be in a certain distance from another gym or playground that would afford us the opportunity to actually put it into our community. And so I think Liz is doing that. We
I
spoke
did put
earlier.
it in here, but I can't find it.
But
Oh, it is, it's,
so there's something in there.
It's on page, give me a second. Page 20,
maybe
it was
just,
under great
maybe
places
just
for people.
some.
So in order
Anyway, keep going, Kenya.
Right, so in order to get access to
C1A.
grant money, this is what
Right.
we learned, right? We were trying to get grants, and we were not eligible for the grants, what
Right.
myself and Councilwoman Daniele understood, because we did not have anything written into our comprehensive plan. When we went back to those people to try to get them to kind of narrow down on the language, they kind of was like, borrow it from somebody else, so to speak, and just put it in there. So this way, when they do look for grants and stuff like that, we can actually reference, so we can
Yep.
say that we wanted to create like a skate park, or we want to create an accessibility park, and so therefore the comprehensive plan speaks to that, so it lends itself to actually get that.
Which is great, and, Fred, as you mentioned, there are parks, and now I'm thinking of, there are young teenagers that walk pretty frequently from one complex through my neighborhood to the park. And it really is nice to see that, it's that they can actually do something as a group, walk safely to go and, not get into trouble.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, and really, so
Even
the.
in our parks.
Believe me, I know, a kid wants too, so, I
So you're
understand
sure you don't
that.
want
So,
to put that in there just so
Well,
they stay
no,
off your
that-
lawn?
Off my lawn?
So, hey,
No,
kids, get off my
listen,
lawn?
if they are going and playing basketball and not causing, themselves any danger, they're welcome to walk through my yard.
So I want to come back to that because I had a lot of time walking as a teenager all over the place. But, so the item that I put in, if you go to page 23 on the bottom, it's in the section that starts C as in Charlie, goal, create places, great places for people. And it's objective 1A, and it specifically describes that park. And then in there's a listing of other parks, and basically the header says, consider preparing a town recreation plan or making an assessment of existing town parks and facilities. The purpose would be to recognize each park's assets and also explore the needs for additional facilities and improvements, existing recreational facilities, including maintenance and safety. So, that's, if there are other ideas that you have or anybody on the committee has, and the one thing I want to say, I went to a state park north of Kingston, and when I was walking through it, I realized that some of the folks I had in my youth group, when I was leading a youth group for our congregation, talked a lot about going to this abandoned quarry. Which, teenagers do those things. And
They do?
yes, yes. Really?
No, I'm
Okay.
joking about that, believe me.
So this park up in Kingston it's kind of one of those things, and I'm quite sure it's the place they used to go wander, except what happened is Scenic Hudson and the state went in there and they basically stripped out some of their tanks, right? They got rid of the tanks and cleaned it up, so there's a couple semicircles. And I looked over and I said, that's a skate park. It's just remaining cement. That's the kind of stuff. So those are possibilities, or old industrial sites. I mean, obviously, they'd have to be cleaned up, but
Sure.
those could be,
The town owns 47 acres right along the creek there.
mhm.
Right over by that, was it the Blodgett Road, right at the end? So, I mean, there is a little
Right.
bit of wetland there.
Yep.
But not that
So-
it couldn't be.
What about that mess
So how can we
that they
put something
abandoned?
in that leaves it open to other possibilities, so we don't have the same
Right.
problem that Kenya had? Where something comes along within the 10 years that this will probably go, that will leave it open to
Right.
whatever we want to be, whether it's a skate park or
Whatever.
whatever.
I mean,
So
whatever
that
the
we
case
could
may
get
be.
grants, because ultimately that's what
Right.
we'd like to do, is get these things funded.
Wait a minute. We have a lot of state land, not park. We have a lot of state-owned land in Fishkill,
Yes,
a lot.
yes. We're
whole
talking
mountain
about
and
town
everything.
land that might be all of a sudden opening up, maybe because of this rail trail,
Right.
that we can maybe convert to the people who can walk to these
So
things.
Fred,
Maybe-
Somehow
So-
we want
Well, I was
to,
gonna
we
ask,
want
do
to
we
be
have
able to
control?
include.
Do we have control over what the state does with their land?
We're not talking about state.
I wouldn't imagine so.
Right.
What's the crux of your question?
Well, you know, all
We can
land
control
across-
ours.
All land on Route 9, all right, going south on the right-hand side,
Yeah.
all right, is all state-owned now.
Okay?
And it's beautiful land, can be used for something. I mean, you can walk it, you know, was part of the revolution, you know, you can do anything you want. We have the whole mountain, all right? Which now is now used for trails. A big hunk of our land is used for trail. I don't know, I have not walked it all in many years now, but, all right? We also have the incline up to Beacon. You know, the old incline, which now they've ran away from. They're not gonna do that anymore, which we're unhappy with. But, you know, it takes the money. But I don't know what, you know, can we put
So
something
just-
in our comprehensive plan
No, but I don't think we're talking
Something
about
kind of
state
general,
property.
saying
To
we want to
general-
include.
to have somebody come in and work? Because then you got, I guess, does it have to be in our comprehensive plan for the state to consider doing it, you know?
So if I understand you, you're trying to like piggyback onto the state, it's their money, their work, it's coming out of their pocket basically. And if we can utilize those resources, because it butts up against a lot of other benefits that we already have here, is that possible and can that be written in? And it would have to be written in based upon, you know, what we're hearing already tonight. That you
I don't know.
Does
I
it
don't know
have
if
to
we were writing it in to
specify
use
the state,
property.
or
I'm
could we
saying-
No, it's
just
part of the
maybe?
grant.
Hey,
It's concerned.
no.
No, but he's saying to, am I
So-
understanding that he's saying to use state property? Like how can we?
No, I
write in
think he's
state
suggesting that
property?
we should
Well, it's
include language
Include
that we
language.
want to include recreational uses near existing state property.
No, using.
But-
it-
Using.
existing-
Yeah, he
Using
said
state
using it,
Well,
right, so
I
Yeah.
think
Then
he's
never mind, I
saying,
misunderstood you.
I
Right.
think, again, if
So-
we can maybe be more general,
Right, our
because
property,
like,
what we.
right.
Yeah, I was talking
And-
about
and
our
right,
property.
But even
Yeah,
if
yeah.
we don't limit it to our property, we could say something like, we want to include a wide variety of people who can utilize lands available to the town. So that's generic, because it
I
could
don't
be
know, because-
town land, it could be state land.
Well,
Well, the
What if
state-
they want uses, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I said, what if they want uses that we don't want to happen here? Like,
Right.
Well,
So
then
that's
that
where you
becomes-
have to
listen,
have
we
the-
just got, listen, if it's state-owned, they want to do something, they can do it. They have to get some approvals from
Right, I was
us.
getting ready to say, they can't just do it, they would have to get approval. So what I'm saying is that, don't set yourself up for something that you really don't anticipate what's happening. When we looked at the park that we looked at, it's the town's park. So we
Right.
looked at
I don't
beautifying
understand
that
town
park,
parks.
we looked at getting access to that park. We couldn't get access to our own park.
Right,
Because we were not too far from the Julie's gym, and so therefore,
And
they
there
was
was
like, well, you
nothing
have
written
one. If
in.
you go down the road 3 miles, you can use that park.
Right.
And because you don't have it in your comprehensive
Right.
plan, you don't have the foundation to use your own park. So what we're
Exactly.
trying to do, what I'm understanding,
Right.
is to gain access to our own
Our
parks.
own
Yes.
land.
And,
yeah.
right, our own stuff, and then,
acknowledge.
right,
I
'cause
just
the
want
state's
those
gonna do what the
rascally
state's gonna
teenagers
do,
to be
you know?
And
taken
so
care
I
of.
think maybe, and I could be very wrong, so maybe what we, because we kind of maybe had this discussion with what's going to go on with the prison. Again, the prison belongs to the state.
Right.
We can say, this is what we would like
Yes.
to go on there. And it's in there. And so with that state land that's newly, we would like that to remain recreational, even if it's a state park for climbing or just a general, so we could put that in there. It just leaves it open to, but we should say, we want a recreational, because you're right, the state could come in and say,
Yes.
we're putting a parking garage here.
Well, they're gonna say what they wanna do with their
That's
property
correct,
anyway.
but we're hedging our bet and say, well, we didn't just come along and disagree with what you want to put over there. We've already thought this out.
There also could be deed restrictions when they bought it too.
Could have been.
Correct.
Right.
But I think
Which is
if-
what we have.
Which
with
is
the
what you're
farm.
limited to, right, which is what the
I
jail's.
mean,
right, but I think if there's general language saying
That we would like it to
the
stay.
goal of the town
Which is
would
what we're
be
talking about.
to make available to a wider variety of, maybe older
You just wanna
teenagers.
have
or-
that tool
I
in
just,
place.
The whole
right,
idea is proper
I
language
want
into it.
somehow to
Yeah.
acknowledge
It can't hurt.
a generation of people that we don't want just kicking around looking for things to do, because
Oh, in order to get the grant.
some
In order to get the grant, you just gotta
negative
move
things
the
can
house
happen
up.
when
You see what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know we had
they're
control
not
of the state
kept
property to get.
busy.
So are we talking about the state prison site now? The one
No,
that's
I'm
being
just talking in
decommissioned?
No,
general.
he brought
Like,
up
I
state
want-
land down, I
Right.
believe you
Well,
said,
you have state land.
I think the
if you
sweet
look at it
property is that
on
47
map.
acres, that's like,
A lot of state land.
It's just
so what I was suggesting is, just like we were talking about putting the recommendation for
But it's our
the
property.
prison,
Right.
right,
So
we
why
have
can't we build
what
it
we
right?
would like to see there. He is bringing up more state land that is right now just pretty much woods, and maybe putting in that we would like it to stay recreational.
Is it in the part that Jonathan wrote about large parcels? It sounds like it is. Did you read that part?
I did not read that part, I'm sorry.
So
Take a
I'm
good
not
look,
exactly
because-
sure what property he's
because-
talking about. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
to
I-
maybe this is what he's talking
I
about.
would urge the committee to take a look at
Yeah,
that
it's a lot.
section, because I believe that he covered a lot of parcels that are big question marks
Yeah.
about it, and took a look at what their,
Potential.
development constraints and potential
Well,
are,
He
and
does
possible
have it right
uses.
here, designing
Yeah,
and
thought so.
building a
That's what it
playground
sounds
for
like.
children of all abilities that includes a sensory area. What I was saying is, that's great for
Right.
perhaps younger people, but my concern right now is that age range where they're looking for something to do, and if they're not guided in an appropriate direction, we're in a crisis here. Our community is in a drug crisis, and so let's give them opportunities, like, again, the basketball court,
Courts
which I
and
thought
handball
was
courts
great,
and all.
and they can walk to that.
I was going to
That's a
say,
great
any
point.
place where they can go, where they may be able to go to an organized place, or may be able to go someplace where they can just hang out and not be around. And I guess that's what's nice about neighborhood roads or
Right,
walkways
right,
or
Yeah.
sidewalks, where
Yeah.
they can get around safely and go wherever it is they want to
Just
go.
an
Right.
acknowledgement that we want to take care of
Adolescents.
these.
So-
Absolutely.
So finding areas for public use, for adolescents,
Yep.
and you leave it in there, because someone can come
Right.
across a great idea, like you
Right.
guys had done with that other
Right.
park, right?
Right.
Probably before that, you didn't even think about it. And then someone came along, hey, this would be great.
Yeah.
So if we keep it vague, but still.
Yeah, but with some examples,
guide,
for
and then-
example,
Right.
basketball.
You get a
Basketball,
wordsmith who
skateboard parks,
takes that and says,
pickleball courts.
hey,
I've seen some cute,
Really?
like
They
just
pick-
open air
really?
stages
Rock
where
climbing.
people just kind of
Yeah.
act out. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen that?
Yep.
That's even cute,
Yep.
and
No, they
doesn't
have that.
have to
The
worry
walls,
about
yeah, the
ambulances
rock wall.
getting in and,
Like a
taking broken
climbing
legs.
wall, basketball, skateboard, did you say
Open air
pickleball?
park.
So pickleball is
Or,
becoming, it's
you're-
actually in the
One of the
news now,
fastest
because
growing
people,
recreational
right,
activities
people
in the
I
are
knew it was for, like,
creating, adults are
seniors,
going
but-
to the kids' park,
Right.
and they're creating their chalked-in pickleball
Yeah.
courts.
This
and
is
it's
kids
for-
or
These
some-
are adults who
I was
are
gonna
doing
say, I
this.
thought it was like a senior
And so
thing.
they're using
Handball courts,
the
yeah.
space for the
Okay.
kids, so now it's a war between parents and adults, because
Okay,
the
I'm
kids
61.
can't ride their
Okay.
bikes freely or skateboards or whatever,
Sure.
because the adults are now there creating their own pickleball spaces. So I was happy to see that we
Good.
will be creating a pickleball court
Oh,
at
okay. I
that
thought I saw
And
location. It's
Pickleball,
supposed to be
in
too.
terms of space, pickleball is also really efficient, because if I remember correctly,
It's how-
you can fit 4 pickleball courts onto one standard-sized tennis court.
Yeah.
But it's not, this isn't an
So-
adolescent thing. I'm sorry, I was writing a list of adolescent things. So pickleball courts is kind of
And
for
we're looking
all
for
ages.
Elderly people.
No,
can't
but I mean,
back now.
just, again, just as an example,
I'm just
at
saying.
Gearing Park,
Experienced.
we do have a rather large tennis facility at
Yep.
Gearing Park. I think
And you
there
do
are-
have a
are 4
growing
courts over there.
Right.
Yep.
But ultimately, what we're trying to do here
Age
is
groups.
figure out adolescent ideas, like skate park, or an open-air theater, or,
Okay, there we
A
go.
rock
Yeah,
climbing.
Where they
or-
can safely congregate.
Basketball,
and get to
skateboard, rock
safely.
climbing, outdoor theater.
Right. I mean, if you look at the parks, they haven't been so park friendly. Like, a lot of things have been removed from them. They had like different, what do you call that, like grills, they had benches.
Yes.
Over the course of time, because of vandalism, you know, when Louise and I learned, they were removing those things
Right.
because of vandalism. But there has to be some level of monitoring these
Right.
things. So the
Right.
spaces in the
Yeah.
parks,
ultimately, all we're trying to do is put things in so it opens
It's
away.
an
no, I'm all
Yeah.
for that, but
Yeah.
I'm just giving the, you know, when you get into the park, is you
Right.
look at it as one clear picture and a roadway, but then you learn that that's not what it is. There's a whole lot more to it. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
spaces within our existing parks
Yep.
that can actually accommodate a
Exactly.
skateboard park
Right.
or this or that. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's not waiting for the near future. We may have
No,
an advanced skateboard park
Right.
by the time that, and this happens, but we do have the ability to put
Right.
that in now.
Well, and this
Right.
is
That's what we're doing.
acknowledging, if you come now with your idea,
Retrofitting.
it's acknowledging that this is what the town wants to see, and you can work it, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, I'm
So you don't have the
writing
same
grants
problem.
now.
So if you're renovating or retrofitting existing parks or creating new parks for adolescents, I'm just gonna go through the list and tell me what to add. Basketball, skateboard, rock climbing, outdoor theater, racquetball courts. What else? Handball courts.
I always love the phrase, including but not limited to.
Okay,
You also don't have a children's park here.
Well, that's what they're creating, so
Yeah, they're
that
creating.
park, I
Because
mean,
it's just,
parks are a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then maintaining and everything else.
yeah, well,
It is a lot of money, so getting
Bathrooms
this in
and
is a
all that,
good thing
Yeah.
from the start.
Absolutely.
because-
Everything that we can do to maximize the amount of grant funding the town
Yes.
can
Right.
bring in,
Yeah.
not even necessarily on a one-time basis, but if we're able to get recurring grants,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's obviously great,
Right.
because park spaces are something which residents benefit from a quality of life standpoint.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the interest of those being public spaces that are free to access, they're not necessarily revenue generators for
No.
the town. So that is an expense that it provides a quality of life improvement. So there's a return on the investment, but it's not a financial return. So whatever we can do to make sure that the cost the town incurs is offset to the extent possible is definitely.
So, and great point, I agree with you. I do have a question, though. If a lot of the parks, or what we're focused on, is going to be navigated next to the waterway, should we not have some sort of a thought on estuary type of, people that fish? I guess there's a boat ramp going in over the
Kayaking.
one.
Yeah, well,
Should that be also something that should be
Yeah.
looked at as well?
What's that,
Well, we did, I
paddle?
think, with the rail trail, opening up along the waterway for more use for it. I believe that's what you had put in there.
Now, I'm referring to specifically like the
Be
town
specific.
properties that are already owned.
And we
Kayak
actually brought it up.
what is your wish list? Just kayak
Yeah,
launch,
Because he
fishing,
just said they were redoing the
It
boat
was
launch.
tubing,
Educational
kayaking,
information
canoeing.
about
Yeah.
educational
Like
information
that
about
one.
wetlands.
Environmental, yeah.
environmental,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
the
only
history
problem I have
perhaps,
with this
areas for
Welcome center.
fishing.
There you
A
go.
welcome center, like, yeah.
Some sort of
Like, we're
literature.
missing all of the key things that make Fishkill great.
Exactly.
You mean like a welcome center in a park or
I mean, you know, something of that nature. It doesn't have to be this grandstand thing. but-
interpretive, maybe some interpretive
Well, sometimes you
material.
just see those,
I mean, I'm not looking for
Billboard.
I'm not looking for a marina so we can park some, you know, John boats.
You don't
but,
have that kind of flow, I think,
You
in
know,
the Fishkill.
something where, I mean,
and not for nothing, so something that I saw, which was cool, so there's the old ruins down by Breakneck. And up off, when you go Breakneck, there's an old mansion up there that's been burned down long ago, and I had gone during
That's where your
COVID.
teenagers are
The
going.
Huberts.
But what they did was
Up in
they
the
put
state.
these big display things showing the pictures of what the house used
Oh,
to look
that's
like
cool.
when it was.
Yep.
So since we are pushing for a historic bring back of Fishkill, things like that might be a very good thing to show what used to be here.
Right.
Yeah.
Good idea.
And it also
Well
lends
as
itself to
environmental,
educational stuff.
Because they also
like
have
this-
that on the
schools could
trailheads.
use that,
You know,
you know?
these are
Yeah.
the trees in the
Yep.
area, these are the
Yeah.
birds in the area,
Yeah.
you know, this is what,
The
know,
bears.
these are the bears in Fred's
Or,
backyard.
what are wetlands
their
for?
friend's house.
That would be
To a
good.
point where you're
Yeah.
charging admission.
Yeah.
$4, no, you can't feed them.
But I can't see the birds anymore because they keep on taking down the bird
Oh, the
feeders.
bird feeders.
They really do.
Oh, they have to eat too.
They go
So we
to
got a lot of
Fishkill to the
specifics on recreation.
Golf can't eat.
We've got some specifics about parcels. We were adding some specifics about
Animals.
great places for people and animals.
And animals.
What else is on your mind that you are wondering whether it's in here or not?
Well, so I just had a question, because there's a bunch of people asking me the same question, and unfortunately, I'm not savvy enough to answer that, is that, are there any changes that we're making to the comprehensive plan that would lend itself to building in places that were not able to build before? And so that question comes from people who live where I live, where the stadium is at. There's a lot of anticipated building in that area. And so I was like, I don't know. Like, I haven't seen anything that would tell me that we changed any codes, right, that would lend itself
No.
to that. And so I'm confident in saying that part, but I wanted to come back to all of you. And they compare us, like what we're doing, I think is a great thing, because we're really like mapping out the life of Fishkill right now for the next couple of years, but they also are concerned with what happened in the village. And so, this committee decides what happens. And sometimes when you're not savvy enough, things can happen that you don't have awareness of. And so I said, unfortunately, I'm not that skilled. Like, I don't know if we've made any changes that would allow building that would not be able to build before.
Well, we
So I just
also
wanted to
need
ask.
assurances that our officials will follow the spirit of the comprehensive plan.
And
Right.
one of the aspects of perhaps looking at developments in areas where it hasn't been previously developed, unfortunately, you weren't able to join us for our last meeting, but Mike Tremper was here and gave a really
Oh, good.
detailed breakdown of the different water and sewer districts in the town, the types of capacities that exist in those, and in as many words told us that in areas that aren't currently developed, there's not necessarily a lot of extra capacity, that some districts have the ability to add marginally, but that most water districts currently in service in the town are at or near their threshold for capacity as what would be permitted by the state for new development.
Okay.
So in terms of major large-scale development in a lot of the areas where we haven't seen development previously, Mike indicated that the development potential there might be significantly limited by water and sewer capacity.
Okay, so I'll ask them, like, because again, I know where they're talking about and I don't even know.
But-
So I'll say that nothing we're doing right now
Right,
lends itself to
And we're
that.
not talking
but-
about really rezoning anything to make it more accessible. If anything, we discussed, I'm not sure if you were here for that, maybe making a new kind of zoning for certain places that are already being used for conservation or institutions, to try and retain what's currently
What's already
there
there.
and doesn't
Yeah,
turn into
perhaps,
some kind of.
perhaps slightly more restrictive zoning as
Right.
opposed to more
So-
permissive.
So not more lenient,
In some areas.
in some areas.
Some areas.
And we've also, Jonathan had shown where development of large parcels are and what the potentials are for them. So you guys, anybody who asks you, we have the open house, you can invite them and you
Yeah.
can talk to all of us. Here's some flyers, pass them out. And you can kind of see what the potentials are, what can be built there, and he did a really nice job.
He did, and he's very specific about,
Yeah.
this is this parcel, its location, how big it is, what's the zoning now, what could be built based on that zoning, what are some of the constraints that might limit land development based on that zoning. And he does make recommendations about whether or not something should be rezoned. I do want to jump over the table or maybe walk around it in a more civilized manner and just.
No, you definitely have to vault it now.
I do
No,
so want
it's
to do
chess.
that.
You put your hand on
but
the
I'm-
piece, you gotta
I'm
move
not.
You could climb under too, it's fine.
We could separate the tables too,
I could climb on it.
Yes.
or go under.
See your
I don't
limbo
think-
skills.
I think
at
Pete
work.
would be very upset with us.
Huh?
He spends a lot of time wiring up these
Oh,
mics.
yeah. Sorry, Pete.
So I do want to walk you through this because Megan Stone, Megan Stone, our cartographer, has been working on this for a couple days. And this is supposed to be comprehensive plan update objectives map. So on here, let's see, this green stripe here is underlain by this railroad symbol. So that is the pathway of that beacon line running through town. And then little, not so easy to see, but definitely there are neighborhood roads, well, not neighborhood roads. For example, Route 82, there's some yellow highlighting there. In the text of the plan, I've described very specifically, this had to do with getting grant funding, where sidewalks are needed, where there is a lack of continuity of sidewalks, and where there are nice neighborhood areas with other, community amenities. So, and this is in your inbox, so you can take a look, zoom in. So you're going to see yellow highlighting all through town. It's pretty extensive, the amount of sidewalk that's recommended, and it really, a lot of that came from what the committee talked about, is, and, the beauty of that is, because I live rurally, and maybe some of you do, we're always jumping in our car to go someplace. And the only time we ever see our neighbors is when we're brave enough to get out on the road and walk and not get hit by a car. That's the only time you see people. So that's the other thing that would be nice about having a lot more extensive sidewalks. If you've got all these beautiful neighborhoods where lots of people live and they want to go places, sidewalks enable them to do that without being concerned, especially if they're, seniors, So that's all through this map. There are areas that are outlined in red, which are the areas that were described as of traffic concern. So that's on there too. And then there are gateways here. They're all identified, gateway of Route 52 as you're coming into town on Route 52, the gateway of Route 82, and then this one, I don't know if that was Fred that pointed that out. Well, this is the triangle area, routes 52 and 82.
The arrowhead.
That's the junction of 52 and 82.
Yep, and so that's kind of a gateway, because I believe that when people are driving in, they might see the little signs as they're coming in on 82 and 52, but they're really going to kind of recognize that they're in a new place when they get to that.
Especially now that there's a
Yep.
8-foot statue of Chief
Exactly.
Lee there.
But
Yep.
there's no way to get to it.
Well, there are lots of places to go nearby. So then this area is a gateway to in by Route 9 from the south, but it's also, I don't know if any of you go on Google Earth, but you can go into Street View.
It is so cool.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful
it's really,
going through
really
here,
neat.
and you really don't see much of these excavation sites from the road. It's not real
Oh, are you
obvious.
talking about that? Oh, yes, you do.
Well,
Oh.
the Street
Wintertime.
View I looked at had
Yeah.
foliage still up, so I imagine when foliage isn't there. So you're winding through here, it's fairly rural, so Jonathan said, well, instead of just saying that's a gateway, why not say that's a corridor? Because I believe it
Yeah,
is
that does make sense.
a lovely approach into the town. There's another area here, of course, when you're coming into town, at some point, you're coming out of a tunnel. But this whole corridor is also beautiful, coming in from 90 from Phillipstown, and all along here is pretty nice. And I extended it up to the line of Beacon because it still is pretty decent looking there.
Yeah.
And then, let's see, and then 90 coming in from Wappinger, of course. There's another traffic concern area there.
Liz, I would just add the Newburgh Beacon Bridge Gateway. While technically you kind of have to pass through the city
Which
of
is
Beacon at
here.
the very northern end.
You don't pass through Beacon at all.
On 84.
Yes, you do,
believe it or not,
actually.
For about 150
There's like,
feet
this
on
is
84.
Beacon, and
Oh, on
here's
84
84.
itself.
I can definitely add that.
Yeah.
And I wondered about that because, and Megan and I were discussing that today, so I can add that I think she was envisioning that there was some kind of a gateway here as you're coming out of
Yeah, I
Beacon.
would say that that's probably right.
We're on
Well-
both sides of 84.
Might even call it a gateway, a sort of a corridor area there,
I feel
in
like
terms of on 84
this
and
way-
9D.
Which? This,
when you're going north on 9D,
yeah,
so you're leaving the city of Beacon and then you're intersecting with Interstate 84
up a little bit, we intersected with 84.
and continuing north on 9D. This is 84. And you can see the ramps next to this
Right.
on either side of 9D.
You see that little thing tipping up, that little point? No.
This,
Yeah, that's the part he's saying is in Beacon.
yeah, this is all Beacon right here, this
I
dark
know.
line.
Yeah, but what
Okay.
I'm saying is that
So
that's
you're-
why we need to indicate that there's a gateway there.
But when
You can do
I'm,
it right on the other side.
are you talking about a gateway actually coming in?
No, I'm suggesting right where you were indicating.
Right here.
At the 9D84 interchange, which is
Okay.
also an area that the county is identifying as an area in need of infrastructure revitalization. So
Big time.
I think if we identify that as a high priority.
Oh.
And again, Liz, I would not just call that a gateway, I would call that a corridor on both sides.
No, that's like a gateway corridor area.
Yeah, especially with, and again, we don't know what the timeline is on that, but the county is
Okay,
emphasizing
good.
a need for federal highway funding.
So are they
For
thinking
that specific
sort of
interchange.
right around
fast.
here, or are they going north?
Well, it could theoretically be both. It could be people who are coming east on 84 and either getting off at 9D to go north or continuing on 84 further into the town.
We'll just
Or people
outline
who
that
are
when we
exiting
do
Beacon
this.
on 9D
Right.
heading north.
Yep, that's,
So
so
it could be
we'll-
either or.
We'll do another one. Okay,
That's all I got.
okay, good.
That was a lot, great.
I'm gonna leave that there.
We've been asking for him to do that for a long time.
You know, I've watched plenty of TV game shows, but I've never seen one where Pat Sajak and Vanna White are the same person. But you're at the desk and
You know,
flipping over the
Sitting
tiles.
down all day is a real challenge, so I'm happy to get up.
You're doing a fantastic job.
Is there a new law in place about sitting down all day?
So, what else is on anybody's minds? Because we have, oh no, we have some more time.
Well, I was thinking about the event for, not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday,
Yeah, I would like
the
to talk,
8th.
oh, okay.
Because it's great that we're going to be inviting people to come to this thing, but I'd really like to make sure that we have the event itself handled.
Where is it?
Okay,
Because I think we were talking about some visual aids, and I'm wanting to make sure that
okay,
you were planning on bringing those with you, Liz.
okay.
I'm all right.
Um,
I got on-
She'll bring
These
the
are some
maps.
of the visual aids.
Some of them, yes.
There's
Are you
gonna
by any
be
chance
a,
get fresh copies of them?
fresh copies of,
Then, because some of them are kind of crinkly and all that stuff.
Yes.
And I think people might like them to look sleek.
yes. And those are working copies. I'm
Right,
not gonna
exactly.
bring
Just get
this.
out your
Not going to bring the handwritten.
No, I'm not gonna do that,
Hey,
so.
this is, we want to tell people this is a work in progress. Handwriting is, you know.
Yep.
How's your finger?
Shows that we work.
I think we
We're
should put
showing-
more handwriting on
We're
it.
showing our work, right? Isn't that what they want you to do at
Yes.
school now? We're
Showing our
work.
thoughtfulness.
So
Everybody hates doing that.
I'm going to pass these around, you can take a look. I had talked about, these are from the Survey Monkey.
Yes.
These are the graphs from the Survey Monkey, and they're kind of pretty. They're a little bit more interesting, they're going to draw people's eyes to them, and I had talked about creating boards with those. So I printed out, those are 11 by 17s. So I went through the entire Survey Monkey thing just to see what kind of colorful things we had in there, and those are really the best ones. When we get to the end, it's questions 28 through 35, I believe, and Jonathan commented on this
Just
too.
open-ended questions.
These are the ones where people were supposed to rate things, and I think maybe by the time, I think there were a couple of factors that led people to pick like 4. You know, it was kind of in the middle of the road on these things, so we didn't really get a good bearing from that, and that's fine. You asked, you got a lot of comments from those anyway, so it
Is
doesn't
still
matter.
possible to do good visualizations of those? I mean, if we are talking about rating things on, was this the
It's a
ranking
green
of
bar
things?
that goes halfway across. It doesn't, I mean, I can do them.
Can we have a station, so to speak, to kind of try and bore into that a little bit more? Like if people gave us too many answers, then maybe have you said that there was like 4 that people were focused on.
No, what I'm saying is on those questions,
Right.
I think either because it was a pretty long questionnaire, or also because it was however we wrote in, do you strongly support, strongly oppose, are you neutral? It just kind of ended up neutral. So I can print those out, because people will see that. So I'll do those, so
No,
people can
because
see.
I'm reading John Cantor's editorial note, and I'm actually kind of inclined to agree with him.
And then I kind of rewrote something that was a little bit more
It's page 8 of
newsworthy.
33 in the packet from tonight. And I can kind of get that. When you offer rating scale answers, it's often that the respondent doesn't necessarily understand exactly how to
So
rate it, and
do
so it can be difficult to identify meaningful trends,
So
which
do
is
we
exactly
wanna-
what he's.
I think I'll
doing.
print
Try and
those
get
out.
clarification then at one of the stations, since people are coming and we're trying to get their input,
one I
like
was
if there's
writing
anything that the survey did not really give us clarification on, do we want to then highlight that as one of the stations so that we can get clarification on something? Does that make sense?
If
You mean
some-
sort of like
Do a survey again.
No, not do the survey again,
No,
but like
no,
if
no.
there's an aspect of the survey where we're saying, gee, we really didn't get our question answered, is there anything that we can do to have a station where we can kind of get that input from people so that we do have clarity on the issue we are not clear on?
And
Yeah.
that's actually one of the things which he mentions in his comment. He says, if we want to get a better idea of how people feel about the things we asked about, we might want to discuss these issues in public meetings or focus groups.
Well, you know what they say, you want the right answer, you have to ask the right question, right?
Yeah.
It's true.
Are we going to give the people who come a chance to put something in writing or in a box of any suggestions they have?
Yes.
And or give some, how do we
Yeah.
gonna get
Not
feedback?
exactly.
We
Because
did,
someone
yeah.
could be talking to me, and
We
they
had
might say
discussed,
something,
we had
then you rely
discussed
on me to give it back.
we had discussed a whiteboard,
That's right.
right?
Wait, let me get
We
out my
discussed a
notes.
whiteboard with people writing on, or a
Yeah.
suggestion box.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like I said,
When you say whiteboard, you're talking about a big giant piece
one
of
of those.
paper.
you,
and markers.
okay,
I didn't
you
realize
are
it.
very
Hold on
pro
one second.
I'm saying we
whiteboard.
could
So
publish
don't
all
go,
I like it. But what I want to do,
like, I like a whiteboard.
can
I'm
we
like,
do that, though? Can we use that thing?
I can certainly check with our buildings and grounds and the town supervisor, find out about it. They had to take it down because they're mounting a new television screen there. I don't know if they have any
But-
plans to remount it somewhere.
What if we could end up with something more permanent, like,
well, we're gonna be
A couple
downstairs,
of-
well, we're gonna be downstairs anyway. We're not gonna be up here.
I personally be a little reluctant writing on a board. I'd
Yeah, I
probably
was
like to
gonna
have
say-
mine
But that's
on
why
the-
we
I
had
like the
suggested.
how about a couple
pencil with,
of 36
notebook.
by 48 foam core boards and some markers that people could actually write on, and then we'll have a permanent, like writing on a cast. Do you know what I'm saying? Instead of something that's erasable. That's what I'm,
Are you worried that?
Again, I just
As
don't want to
candidate,
share it,
yeah.
I just want to put it in a box for
Right,
you guys.
so
to
We could
we
do
had
both.
suggested
Oh,
both.
yeah.
Yeah,
right?
both.
Yeah.
Then the people that want to just write something and put it in a box.
Right, because we actually figured that people may not want to just come up to a person and ask
A little
them a
more private
question.
about their
And they could
suggestions.
write it and be more discreet.
Especially ones I would have.
Yes.
Okay. And then we
It's
had
understandable.
the,
Bringing food.
we had the vision.
And I would
What?
sign it.
No, I'm bringing food.
You didn't see that list?
You
Oh
didn't
my
see that
goodness.
list?
It's
I
like,
sat there
Wow,
and-
you're feeding it.
Yeah, I like throwing parties,
I will
but,
say.
but the box of Joe, I would like somebody else to collaborate on that.
I can pick that up.
Because
didn't see
I'll get
bagels
the
and
snacks and the drinks, and that, it's a Cambro, it's a Dunkin' Donuts Cambro, it's 60 small
Yeah.
cups
I'll
with all the fixins.
run and pick it up.
You're looking for your age?
I'll do that.
Yeah,
Your age group?
I can bring
Yeah.
tea. I don't even know what we're doing. but-
it's not here.
I don't know
I'll bring
how
the
to do
vegan
tea,
creamer.
so
I
I,
have the giant.
Take water.
I have the
and make it
giant,
hot.
you know, whatever
It's
that
the
is.
opposite
at
of
restaurants
ice.
or whatever.
Until it turns color.
And you just
I'm gonna
put
listen to
water
her now.
in
Can
there
you-
to stay
I'll bring the
hot for
Hennessy, I'll bring the
hours.
Hennessy.
So I have the
Hennessy.
giant, I don't know what you
Sarcastic.
call it, but it's the giant, looks like a cooler, but it's not a cooler. It keeps the water hot. So I have that. And
You
the
have that?
restaurants use that, yeah.
Yes.
And so, and then I have like teas, like, you know, green teas, ginger teas, all those different teas or whatever. So, and then I have the cups that go with it. It just,
Do
I don't
you
have the
want
lids.
to, do you want to do that, or do you need help with it, or?
No, I don't need help. I have a husband. He usually.
Okay. So you're going to do tea?
Yeah.
Do you need cups? Because I'm
No.
buying stuff.
No, I have
Men
cups.
can only do one thing at a time. I just want to
Not my
let you know.
husband. He's a superhero. So,
Excellent.
You said most.
Right,
They
that's
all.
what I'm saying. I'm just establishing him as somebody.
So should I not do iced teas, or?
No, you could do iced teas, but
Okay.
sometimes people, you know.
Yeah, I like that
If
idea.
you're a tea drinker, then you want tea, right? If
I
you're a
was-
coffee drinker, you
yeah.
want coffee. If you're explorative, then you want both, right? I don't know.
Okay,
But,
good.
But I do have that. The only thing that I don't have is lids. Sam's Club, for some reason, is not getting in their shipment of lids. So, so they're just, you know, they're like the hot cups. But I'll look, since I have some time, I'll look and see if Restaurant Depot has it.
Okay.
Somebody local just donate some cups and lids?
No, I don't really, like,
Burger King's
my
good
life
about
is
that.
not built like that, like,
Donate.
no, like being able to go and ask people.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't have the accessibility.
I understand.
So Kenya's bringing tea.
That's good.
That girl.
I thought we should have a couple of 11 by 17 printouts, a few of the 11 by 17 printouts of the survey results, so that people can see them and they're very readable.
So another thing would be maybe a larger size, maybe something like this, of the actual questionnaire as a sample that people could flip
Okay.
through so they know, you know, the
Yeah.
work product that we created and then what corresponds to that.
There may be people that did not get that survey.
Right.
My neighbor being one of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he won't let my ear go.
Left or right?
Yeah, well, next door is a little vacant right now for like the last 20 years. You should know better.
Okay.
So are
We're-
we
We've got
doing
to
like
ask about across, too.
is it gonna be like an informational, like we're gonna say like, you know, where we were, where we're headed, like are we
Yeah.
doing something like that? Like,
Not,
like, you know, we didn't have sidewalks, but we're building sidewalks in now based on the survey, like how is that gonna look? Like, I don't want it to be this, you know, boring space of.
Yeah, it might be
Well-
beneficial to have, if only like a little printout like that with some bullet pointed items of things which, based on the survey or just through our discussions this year, are things which we know we're going to be modifying. Either we might be removing, we might be adding, we might be tweaking, et cetera,
from the comprehensive
from the
plan.
comprehensive plan.
Well-
How did the 2009 comprehensive plan look, and how is it going to look different now? Just a
I
highlight reel.
think we should
Just a highlight
give them, we should provide copies
Well,
of this.
I think that's fine,
And
but
then we
for
can
an
give them
open
the
house, I think
outline
we want-
version.
I again agree with that, but I think that should not necessarily be the primary visual aid. I think we should have something that's distilled, that's easier for people to look at.
Like an
Just as with the flyer,
like an
putting too much,
33
I
pages.
like your
Like
idea, Grant, of
outline.
having the map, like having a map and, for example, this first one and say, this is what you're looking at. This map is reflective of X, Y, and
Where we're at
Z.
now.
right?
And this is the direction, the
we
vision that the comprehensive plan update committee is,
Heading.
Yeah.
you know, is
Like-
looking at and.
Yeah, like hypothetically, you know, you can start with the base map. You could do one that focuses on park spaces, and then
Yeah.
you could have, you know,
We have that.
these are town park spaces, and then underneath indicate some of the, you know, just bullet pointed initiatives that we are taking with this
Right, like
comprehensive
sort of an
plan.
outline, like
Yeah.
boiled down bullet points.
Yeah, really super distilled bullet points. So, because
Yes.
if it's a visual aid, someone might be going over to that station where the bullet points, they can say, oh, what do you mean about this? And then the person at that station can give a more in-depth response about how we're doing it. So that way, the visual aid isn't overwhelming to the person coming in, and then they can choose which of the stations they want to visit, or they can visit all of them without feeling like they're just being bombarded with information.
Right.
Because we've had more than a year to get up to speed to the point that we're at right now. It would not be fair to have a person walk in, hand them a 33-page document and say, well, what do you think?
Oh, these are, we'll give them that in case somebody wants it, but we'll
Right.
do a
Take it,
boiled
yeah.
down bullet point outline.
So,
Well-
with this open house here, should there be a point in time, just you know, like a 15-minute
That's what I
worth
said, a
of?
presentation.
Exactly,
Presentation,
as-
yeah, we
as
discussed
Kenny was
that.
saying.
Right, there has to be something that draws you in, right? So
Exactly.
people come, they're gonna be looking at these
They're gonna be
things.
flowing in and out, and, you know,
I still, for me,
Yeah.
I think, and, you know,
We're gonna send 'em your way.
I had recommended, I had recommended even just having a screen with somebody speaking for 10 minutes that people can come and sit, you know, 5 seats in front of it, and that way you can see the entire 10-minute presentation, you can see 5 minutes of it, you can jump in halfway, and that's just
And it plays on loop.
continually running
It's a nice
in the
idea, but
background.
it requires us to put together a 10-minute video presentation in 10
Come on,
days.
Greg.
All you're gonna be doing is reading this, so it's.
No, I was just referring, just let it, you know.
You want me to
let
read
it flow,
33
basically.
pages of text in
There
10
are
minutes?
things that stood out in the
But am I supposed to be that guy at the end of a car commercial?
Community.
I can't.
I feel like
I can
if we
hear.
anticipate, like when Kenya came in and you said some of your neighbors had concerns and they were asking, I think those are gonna be a lot of the concerns that people have, you
It's a
know?
nice idea.
So if we anticipate the fact that, you know, they're going to come in and be concerned about, you know, are we changing zoning, is anything, you know, this and that. I mean, you know, a presentation is great, like, I think that would be really helpful, or having something, to me, it's interesting to look at the responses for the survey, to say, this is what we're working off of, and to show them that, you know, like, here, you can see that, you know, 90% of the people are concerned about traffic, and like,
There you
so
go.
that's part of our, you know,
Yes.
just keeping in mind that's gonna be the headspace that a
Yes.
lot of people are in. So I
Yeah.
think that we should anticipate that as, and kind of just front end what our discussion with, you know, we are acknowledging the questionnaire that we sent out, and these are the answers we got, and this is what we're working off of.
Yeah, and I think there needs to be sufficient, I'm going to use writing to exposition to get us there.
Yeah.
I think you walk in the door, it should be, hi, welcome to the Town of Fishkill. Just like one little poster board, just some basic information about Fishkill, incorporated 1788, current population as of
Is
2020.
that on the website? I mean, can we just print something off of the?
Again, we've got all that information already in the outline.
Oh, yes.
That's what
So I'm
I
just saying,
We
we've
had
got
talked about
things
printing
already
this
in the
up as a
outline.
board.
Take that section, that introduction, boil it down to 2 or 3 major, let's say even 5 bullet points.
Right.
Put it on one thing. Then we can do a what is the comprehensive plan? Because there are a lot of people who will not necessarily, as laypersons, know the difference between the comprehensive
Yes.
plan and our zoning.
Yep.
Right.
Whereas, you know, zoning are legally binding set of procedures which are reviewed by the planning board during the application process, which are enforced by the building inspector and code enforcement during construction of projects and inspection of properties and structures. The comprehensive plan is a planning document that's designed to give recommendations to the town board, which is the legislative body that determines what the zoning codes are.
So what you
So
just
it's
did
gonna-
there
We have a
is what should
speaker.
be on loop.
We have a speaker.
That,
I fully expect that I'll be helping with presentations.
Is pretty much.
Yeah,
what
it's a
we're
spiel,
doing.
I can give a spiel.
No, it's beautiful, and that's
It's
what I'm just
beautiful.
calling out to be. That's what
Yeah.
we have to do.
And you already did it, so you can just get the video.
There you go. So,
Done.
I will tell you
Hi,
something.
welcome to my TED Talk.
I have no idea what we can do.
Great.
Who do I send my invoice to?
Right, because I think again, you know, it speaks to what Karen said, like, we already know what the issues were based on the survey results. So we know that, you know, traffic, you know, we can't stop traffic, but we can kind of develop it, right? We can develop the traffic. Development has to happen because there's a need for us to continue to grow, but it doesn't have to infringe upon our quality of life, right? So those are the things that screamed here, you know, creating walkways, right? Creating green space that people could be in. Those are the key
Preserving and
components.
protecting history, water, and the
Yes,
environment.
making sure that there's affordable housing, like where are we with that in terms of, do we have any stronghold on that or any kind of power? So again, just highlighting the things that stand and scream to us here, make it plain. If you want to do a loop, you know, whatever you want to do, it just.
I have no
you-
problem just doing that spiel. You know, if someone else wants to talk about a different subject, we can sort of take it in turns. Or that's the whole benefit of each individual station, that if people sort of walk, I hate to bring the comparison, but like if you think of one of those Halloween haunted houses where you walk in and you follow a predetermined route through the building where you go through these different scare rooms, well, instead of it being scary, it's informative, which is even more terrifying.
So we'll do a Stu Leonard's.
But no, like where people will walk in and you can sort of take them step by step through different aspects of the plan, and we've already got the backbone of it right here. We just need Liz, and her people to create visual aids that distill a 33-page document down to, I'd say, between 6 and 10 of these.
Yeah.
But also remember that last time we had this discussion about how are we doing this open house, there was a talk about, because remember I had a thing in the outline of, there's going to be this for 10 to 15, and this, that, and the other thing. And the idea was something to shoot darts at, and the committee did it. And basically, we went from saying, this isn't going to be a presentation, this is going to be a drop-in, drop-out,
Right.
talk to the committee members, look at information, go to different stations. And so I think in some ways, you guys are the stations.
Yes.
Right.
It very
That's exactly
much.
what I'm suggesting,
And
is that
what I'm gonna
we just
sug-
take a station.
Yeah.
And while we're distilling a particular section of the outline down onto a poster board for the station, our job as the individual person at that station, when someone comes, is to engage with them on the more detailed aspects of it.
So how are we gonna set up these stations? Are they gonna be based
I-
on the questions? Or are they gonna be based on the sections of this?
I would say that they should be based on the sections
They
of
can
this.
be based on the sections of this, but last time we also talked about having boards that had to do with the survey responses.
And it-
So that
we
people could see
absolutely
that, so that's gonna be some of it, so it can be
So
a
a
pile of those,
combination.
people can pick them up. There could be spread out on a table, pick them up and discuss them and ask the committee about it. The same thing can be done with sections of the plan. And, then you have the maps, there's also gonna be a vision Mad Lib, I think, and then, well, I mean, so.
No,
if
we
you wanna
discussed it, and I
give some
forgot
more
about it.
input, and then we could have, I kinda like the idea of a blank 36 by 48 board, a few of them, for people to be able to write
I would
comments.
recommend also having a suggestion box.
And a suggestion box.
Yeah,
Both.
I do feel like
Both.
there's going to be some people
Yep.
who are
Don't
not feeling like,
Yep.
I'm going to, in
I
front
think
of all these
we
people,
already, yeah.
tell you what I really think.
I think we are, yeah, we're talking about an idea box and a whiteboard,
Yeah.
the vision statement, the survey results as 11 by 17 as boards. We're gonna do an 11 by 17, several copies of that as the whole survey. So if somebody wants to sit and look and leaf through it if they haven't
Well,
seen it yet,
I think a takeaway, like, people like to take things home.
well, that's
too,
fine.
so,
We'll have
you know,
copies of stuff they can
something-
take home, but
Yeah, I think the more extensive information people can take home and
Yes.
peruse when they get home, but,
Yep.
just the real boiled down.
Can we also have a plaque that says where they can find us in all our old meetings?
where they can what?
Go back and review any of the old meetings if they want to?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and that is Greg.
Yep.
So.
We're currently working on that on the town website. Now, I already was able to get
There'll-
some of our resources up onto the comprehensive plan update page on the town website, which anyone watching this can access on the town website under the town board meetings, excuse me, those is.
It's under
department
committees.
Top window.
If you go under committees, scroll down, there is a comprehensive plan update page. Click on that, it brings you there. Right now, it's a landing page. It's not loaded with content,
loaded yet.
but it will be. It's one of the tasks that I'm going to
Did
be
you see,
carrying out.
I did an email with a
I
couple
did.
items.
I've already uploaded those to the website. That's live now.
Good.
One of the things I intend to do over the next week or so is to do a full, click on the link and it brings you to YouTube catalog of every comprehensive plan committee meeting that has taken place. Again, just click the link and it brings you,
We
pop-up
don't have
window
all
to
of them. We
YouTube.
have all from the beginning of this year.
That is correct, but I do believe that there are some Vimeo links of older ones, because they were published, but we didn't have a YouTube channel at the
Good.
time.
Oh, good,
But they
good.
were published by our
Good.
videographer Pete to his Vimeo account.
Good.
So I can make sure that we've got all of them. If there's any that are missing, then we can make sure that we work with Drake Love. I think we said that there was one from earlier this year.
which Pete was able to upload already.
That's fantastic. So I don't think there should be any gaps now. And I can confirm that.
But before we end this discussion,
Mhm.
I want to get back to the thing that was supposed to be the first item on the agenda.
Okay, before we
No,
get
no,
to
this is good.
that,
Keep
I have one
going,
more
keep
thing
going,
here.
but I do want to come back
While
to
y'all
this.
look for that, are we gonna know our sections beforehand? I don't really like to,
I've got an idea for
like, am I gonna
now.
have great places for people, right? Like,
I
just wanna
feel
know
funny about
what the
assigning
bullet- I just want to know
sections.
what the bullet points are. I don't
Well,
want to be
but I
looking
actually
crazy.
think that's probably a really, maybe it's not
Yeah,
just
we
one
wanna
person, we've got to have
prepare.
people here
I was
that,
gonna say, like, for example, Greg, the whole thing about what is a CPU, what isn't it? I think 2 people for that, at least.
Yes.
And I think you and I could do that.
happy to do it.
And, I mean, we can
Can
try
I read you
to
through this
assign.
little list that I've put together here?
Sure.
Okay, so I was thinking if we have a total of 9 displays, that would require, I'd say, maybe a dozen of us total, depending on how we rotate and shepherd people through. I think the first,
We're
well,
gonna
actually,
have more than 9, but.
I'm
that's
thinking
okay.
that we could actually have, really 3 boards could be handled by one group of people, and that would be Welcome to Fishkill, what is the comprehensive plan, and who is the committee? Where we can introduce ourselves to people, give a bit of background on the town. Not everybody who lives here has a detailed understanding of the town. Maybe some people have moved here
Make sure
recently.
it's what is a comprehensive plan update.
Yes, what is, well, yeah, and I think we can touch on both, what is a comprehensive plan and what does this update entail?
Yep.
Along with who is on your committee. Talk, where in the town do we live, what do we do for a living, what are our backgrounds, et cetera. Not necessarily spilling all of our individual biographies, but assuring people that we have a diverse coalition of people from a variety of professional backgrounds who live in varied areas of the town, who can offer a wide range of perspectives.
But that's going to be as people go around and introduce, right?
Well, that will become apparent, but I'm
Right.
saying that it would be beneficial at the beginning to say, welcome to Fishkill.
Got it.
What are we doing here and who are we?
Yep.
Then we can sort of pass them off to the what is the process and the survey, because I think what is the process and the survey really flow into each other very well. Because we can talk about what the process is for actually updating the comprehensive plan, and a significant part of that being the collection and review of data
And the
through a
results.
survey, which would be a great spot to have the display of those survey results, where people can sort of flip through the pages. If they have any questions, they can ask. We can talk about the survey process, how we put it all together, how we reviewed the data, and then that can send them off to our major goals. And from that, I might have skipped 1 or 2, but connect people and places, promote good design of built environment, create great places for people/animals, and preserve special significant environmental resources.
I'm gonna be with you on the great places for the animals.
Are you,
Oh, there's also.
I'm gonna be with you on the great places for the
hang
people
on,
and the
hang
animals.
on. Let's,
Hey, Greg, do we have
The-
a list of all the committee members by any chance?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
It
We
is-
do?
I do.
can we have
Want to
it?
share that?
Because I don't.
It's usually whoever's on the.
And you already know how bad I am
We had
about
from
names.
last year when it was shared at the time, but
Well, things have been edited and,
it is certainly a smaller active committee than it is on paper.
We have 22 people on the email.
yeah.
Greg,
I don't know how many are double.
It doesn't mean they're all members.
I
now,
see
does
what
it?
you, okay. So we're gonna, when I get this
We have
boiled down.
approximately
Maybe it could be posted or something, if
But only the same faces show up all the time.
Well, I think, like before.
Oh, yeah.
get rid of
I
people.
missed it.
Yeah.
Want to follow the priority that's in the outline, because it's been kind of reworked. So that's good.
Yeah.
So that's how they got to say. So how do we y'all breaking us up into groups? Because I like to be prepared, so I just
Well,
need to.
I think what we should do tonight, just so that way we have a week and a half to be well-versed, is
Right.
that if everyone wanted to choose a section, whether that would be, I think we kind of agreed that Liz and I would do the Welcome to Fishkill, what is a comprehensive plan, and what is the update?
And
who are we?
I can bounce around. I have a
yeah.
short attention span.
Yeah,
So we could
and,
always
and,
defer
and
to you,
bearing in
right?
mind, I don't think it's necessarily reasonable for us to expect that it's just going to be a constant stream of people all day.
Right.
We,
Yep.
we might have a few people
Yep.
trickling in every now and then. We're gonna be there for 3 hours. It's a Saturday. People might have plans. They might stop in at various times.
Can
it
I
would be
read-
entirely reasonable for, us to, not necessarily accompany people, but I'm not saying that everybody's gotta be at their station with their script.
Yeah, it's
But
not going to be like that.
It's not gonna be like that.
I'm folding pages because I want to just simply read through the big topic headers.
Yeah.
Okay, so give me a moment.
Tell me what you want me to do.
Wait a minute, hang on. Hang in there.
Okay. I'm just.
Hang on. I'm getting there. Yep, we're good.
Because Because I think we can sort of, I don't want
Let
to say
me, let me read the
condense.
big topic headers. Just let me read them through without anybody jumping on anything.
I've just written them down.
What?
I've just written them all down.
Okay. Connect people and places is A.
Yep. Promote good design.
Promote good,
environment.
go ahead. Go ahead. Go.
Oh, no, I was just giving you the next one, that was all.
Okay. Create great places for people and animals.
Yes.
Conserve critical lands, that's E. Preserve special significant environmental resources is F. Emphasize scenic and historic stewardship. And H is raise community awareness. That's another one that's kind of gotten to be a snoozer. I, goal, create and enhance gateways. And K, work cooperatively with neighboring municipalities, and that includes the school thing.
There are two others in there, Liz. There's D, which is ensure economic and social diversity, and E, which is conserve critical lands.
Yep.
I want everything the way it is when I moved in, and I don't want to see any changes.
Get off your lawn there, Mr. Eastwood.
And take your bears with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that economic, okay.
Go to the circus
Hey,
with your
if you
bear.
saw it the way it was when I,
All right, so, do you want to read them through and have people choose, or
Yeah.
how do you want to do that? Go for it.
We could do it now, or we could do it by email and just ask people to sort of
I
call
don't know.
dibs by
I mean,
Friday.
it wouldn't hurt to kind of get some feedback now. Everybody's in the
Okay.
same room, and that way if somebody wants
Go.
to change their minds. So,
Liz,
connect, what, go ahead.
just tell me what you want me to cover.
Liz, I'm just looking at this and I'm just thinking.
You want us to just assign it? Is that what the committee's preference is?
Well, I think that one of the things that we can do is if we're going to have people work in pairs, that we
Are
might want
we?
to combine, we had talked about having people at multiple people at a station. I'm thinking one of the things we might want to do is sort of link related topics together. For instance, connect people and places might go well with create and enhance gateways.
You know,
I don't know, that doesn't, I mean, we can do it that way. I thought it was going to be kind of an independent
Individual?
agent
let me ask a question.
thing. Go ahead.
He can't be there, I plan on being there, so let's get an idea of who's going to be there. So therefore, we have a good idea of the numbers. Before we get two people going to be,
Yeah.
I mean, we may not even have
Is
that.
there going to be beer here?
I don't think that was
After,
on the
maybe.
snack and
I
drink
didn't
list.
see that on the snack list.
Nah.
Who is going to be here?
I can commit to 10 to 12, but,
Okay.
and I'll try and finagle
Kevin?
going to work late.
You'll be there, I'll be here.
I'm not too
That's
sure
John.
because I'm supposed to
Brian
be traveling.
That's 7, 8 with Liz.
Traveling to
Jim?
town hall, sir.
Will you be there?
Supposed to be traveling tomorrow to Florida.
Kenya, will you be there?
Reschedule it.
I'm assuming, will Mr. Cantor be there?
Up in the air.
Jonathan?
Yes.
I think he's going to be there.
And I think if we can get Mike to be there, obviously, he wouldn't necessarily be speaking about the plan itself, but he'd be there as a resource to talk about water and sewer if anybody had questions.
Definitely one.
And then we have Mr. Justice, who isn't here with us tonight. Mr. Cantor isn't with us tonight, and I'm just trying to think of any other.
All right, do you want to try, so look, you had an
Don
idea.
Cristula, I don't know if he'll be able to be, so we've got some people who aren't here tonight who might be able to be there.
So it sounds like your idea of assigning people offline and then
Yeah.
emailing it out, okay.
Yeah,
Go
I
with
think
that.
it's best, I'd just say what we,
So what you probably need to do is say,
I'm a tea
who
drinker,
is definitely
so
coming, and then you
I
need to
love
pick a
tea.
spot,
I don't like tea at all.
right?
Oh my God.
Via
Yeah,
email.
basically.
Because not everybody who can be there can be here tonight
I
necessarily.
think if we
Precisely.
generate a list and get it out to the committee, this is what we think you're gonna be covering, and then follow up, either if we don't hear by email, yes, I'm okay with that, then we follow up with an individual email or something.
I would like to be a little bit prepared.
Right, but, yeah, but I don't think we're gonna be able to
I like winging it
tear sheets off tonight and hand them to people.
when I share my.
No,
Because we don't know if
That's-
everybody
I can wing
who
certain
can
things,
actually
and you would
be
think
there,
that
they
I
might
can
not be
to the
there.
top.
Exactly, exactly.
Like, he's
This
here
is a
tonight,
lot
but
of
he can't be there then, so.
Before everybody goes, everybody's ability to reach out with this flyer. You have the flyer, great flyer, in 3 formats. I don't really understand the JPEG, we use the JPEG one, but The point is, the more you can get it out by email or post, however you want to do it, make sure it gets out. I'm going to send it out to all the people that I sent the survey flyer to. And I'm going to try to get town departments to have flyers sitting there in their offices.
I will drop this big one off at the library tomorrow.
So that was my main plug, is everybody has a part. The sooner you get something out, the better,
Okay, so what's our parts? We
which I'm sure you know.
She's gonna email them out.
Email out my part?
Well, she can do the section, and if you want to, you know.
So what we're gonna do is do it
Yeah,
via
we have a
email
comp
to everybody
plan,
who
but-
is on our list.
Oh, and then
Even
we-
if they're not here tonight, and then you would pick your station.
Okay.
And then say, yes, well,
And you
I
wanna
am
be with me?
RSVPing, and this will be my
I want to
station.
be with somebody that know what they're doing.
I just said to him, I'm like,
Oh, that's putting a lot of confidence, I'm not sure.
No, listen, I
so
can
nobody
get through
showed
some
up,
stuff,
is what
but
you're
when
trying
it
to
comes
say.
to animals and all of that stuff and preserving, you got it. You're the pro there.
I think even once we bunch up in little groups and stations, once people get yakking, it'll
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
more one-on-one. That the group and the station is a good starting point, but it's
I think it's more
gonna.
about meeting the individuals on the
Yes,
planning committee.
absolutely.
So that you
Yeah.
can know who's
Absolutely.
doing this and
And
trust
al-
them.
And
Yep.
although we'll be in different sections,
Yep.
Kenya, what you said is exactly what people will be coming in. Hey, this is my concern, tell me about it.
I
Right.
think we should have a code word, though, for helping. Exactly.
What's the code word?
And we should
I'm
have
just
that,
saying, like,
This is being recorded.
no, I know, I'm just saying, in my experience, and I've vended at a lot of shows, there have been multiple times where it's like you're kind of cornered. and
Don't worry,
calling
you'll have
for
me
help.
in. No one will be cornered.
Do you have a fear of being cornered?
Right. We'll be able to, get help.
and Jesse's a trapper.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right, that's right.
I mean, again,
that's
for the
right.
most part, people that do show up are interested in what we're doing, you know what I'm
If
saying?
you get to that
And so
point,
there
you
is
gotta
gonna be
dis-
some,
Okay,
what is
that's
that,
my
like,
code. That's my-
I don't know what
that's
the word
my
is.
signal.
But people have like, passion,
Jim,
right? So
this is
people
my
are
signal.
passionate
That's a
about
signal.
traffic, you know what I'm saying?
That's a
They're
signal.
they're
That's my
passionate
signal.
about a lot
That's
of
gonna go
things.
over well.
And so, their passion may come across as, being aggressive or whatever, but like, the reality is that we don't have any control, like, you know what I'm saying? So what I always tell people to do is show up to the planning board, show up to the zoning board, show up to those things, advocate, let your voice be heard, so this way people know your position. But we, as a comprehensive committee, can't, we can't stop whatever's going to be happening. We can only try to create the space of what we want Fishkill to look like, and we want to make it
And
inclusive.
share a vision. And
So, right,
how
so,
do we see?
to
what do
them,
we
so
see
I think
happening?
we'll be, we're doing good work here.
Very good work. And you're not rezoning the town, you're just planning for whatever might happen afterwards.
Do you have
I
extra
do
of
think it's
these?
an exciting
Is there extra
opportunity
of
for
these?
people to come in on a more casual basis and
Yeah, because I'll take it to the
talk
senior.
with your
You want one of the big ones for the senior? I got a nice big one for you.
I think, they won't let me, I can take pictures of the,
Move to adjourn?
I just have this little one.
Move to adjourn?
I can take this one to the seniors.
Oh, you are, okay.
I could use some more small ones. Yeah.
We have small ones here.
Yeah, I'll take a
Drop,
few.
drop a bunch at the library.
You have them at the library? Which library?
Give out 200 of these on.
Look at this, all right, this is enough.
The library has been emailed.
Work it, work it.
Be there.
Somebody said something about the library?
No, next week.
Yeah, Fred Cantor did.
Right.
No, this Saturday is the.
Can I say something about the library?
Yeah, go for it.
I did speak to the head librarian, or whoever it is, and I emailed over all formats of the flyer, so they were gonna make them available and post them and stuff like that. But anybody who wants to print off copies and,
That's what I was
bring them
just talking
places,
with
absolutely.
And is it posted at
Unfortunately, I
town
don't have
hall?
a
Is it
printer.
visually in the hallway
If I
here?
print you
So it should be
200,
visually in the hallway?
That's
Right,
what
it
I,
should be
You give
here,
them
it should be
200
by the water
I can do it,
department, it should be throughout visually, so that we,
I think you should surpass your goal.
11 by 17, is there a place to
200.
post them?
Personal best.
Physical places to post them?
200.
Yeah.
We could put them up in town hall. I can leave them on the desk for the
250.
secretary, and he can talk to the town
50,
clerk. And
Okay.
right, and then it
All
can go
right.
in the hallway, like where people come to,
Put them in the main entrance window, put one over at rec.
at the water, right?
Can you print
The police
11 by
department.
17?
No, I cannot. I don't have that capacity.
So do you want me to print a bunch of, well, there's 2 over there, but I can can print some 11 by 17s, I think, and send Chris down.
Yeah, send Chris down, and you can have him drop them in the
So I've-
supervisor's office with Mike.
Can I ask a question?
Jim?
Well, it's happening anyways. With all the people that are signed up to notifications from the town, can we push it out that way?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's going out on Facebook on Friday, it's going to go in our eGov newsletter on
this is going to
Friday.
eGov.
And we're gonna boost it
Oh,
again next
thank
week during the middle of the week, again on Friday, and in next week's eGov as well.
Thank
Although it will
you.
be a lower priority item on that newsletter, it'll be lower down, but this week, unless there's some other item which comes up in the meantime, I intend for it to be the lead-off item for this week's
Has the
eGov.
format changed?
How many
on
11 by
those
17s?
newsletters?
That's a great idea. Can we able
Has the
to
format
do?
changed on those newsletters?
Kenya
'Cause
wants
now
to know,
just
can we put it on
seems
the
It's
TV?
not like what it was.
I don't want the credit.
Just the
I'm not
last
telling you
two
what it is.
Oh.
Giving you the
notifications I
credit.
got.
Wait, there's a question.
That's a different
Those have just been
No, you're
solo
standing up.
topic-breaking
Gotcha.
news ones, that's it.
I want to clear something up.
Can we put it on the TV?
Let me, I want to answer that, because last time we discussed whether or not, this is going to be downstairs, and one of the things that we realized that there aren't cameras down there, but the other thing is, I think it's not worth recording,
No,
because
no.
it might make people uncomfortable.
We don't want you to record the thing. We want you to put this
Advertise.
flyer on the TV.
Push it out on the TV.
channel, on the thing.
Yeah, I'll
That's what
send,
he's been doing now.
can you send me a PDF, or not PDF?
You
a,
have
So
a
this way-
PDF,
Do
you
I have
have all
JPEG of
three
it?
formats.
I have JPEG.
You have 2 JPEGs
Okay, if you,
and a
can you just bump
PDF.
that so that I can spot it again, and I'll forward it straight to
Okay,
Katie.
you want me to resend?
If you could
Okay.
just bump it, I'll send it to
I
you.
just resent it today to everybody.
Then I should have it near the top of my inbox.
Tell me, and,
Okay.
And are we gonna have like sign in for people?
Okay.
Heck, I can probably,
Came out 3 ways.
if I can log into the portal right
I
now.
think-
What's her
Came out
pay?
3 ways.
what?
I didn't say.
I don't know. Are we ready to adjourn with the, except for the details that Greg and I are going to orchestrate?
Yeah, I got cats I gotta take care of.
Our next meeting, other than the October 8th, go ahead, go.
Okay, so Saturday, the October schedule is Saturday, October 8th, is the CPU open house, which is right here at Town Hall, downstairs in the community room. Late refreshments will be served from 10 a.m. till 1. Wednesday, October 12th, we have our CPU meeting right here at Town Hall, 7 p.m. Wednesday, October 19th, we have a joint meeting with the Fishkill Town Board, 7 p.m. And then Wednesday, October 26th, CPU meeting right here at Town Hall at 7 p.m.
So I just want to know who decided all of this like this? When did this happen? When I was out?
This is, this,
He was right there.
While I was gone?
well, what happened is, you know, the CPU timeline that we've been sending around. So we rewrote it, and I think we discussed it at the last meeting.
Oh,
And
I
I mean, obviously, I think that it's important to know that everybody here is a volunteer, and we understand this is a huge commitment of time. So I mean, personally, I wouldn't expect every committee member to be able to show up to every meeting. So the October 12th is just a committee meeting. The Wednesday, October 19th, is our first joint CPU committee and town board meeting,
Which we have to have, right?
which we do have to have. And at that meeting, I'll have the materials prepared for the town board to be able to initiate the state environmental quality review. So they'll be sending things out to agencies and doing required referrals, and they'll be setting a public hearing. And this is all in that CPU timeline. They'll be setting a public hearing for, I'm pretty sure, November 16th. Is that a Wednesday?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And so that'll be the first hearing.
All town board meetings are on Wednesdays.
So the goal for me is to try to attend as many meetings as I possibly can, right, and not miss as many as I possibly can. So to have them cluttered like this, like, is difficult for me. And I know it may not be difficult for everybody else here, but when you sign up for something, you want to give it your best and give it your attention. So I just feel like all of these in October is a lot, but I just
It
wanted
is
to
a
say
lot.
that, because, again,
It is a lot.
somebody,
Yeah, that's a hard press.
you won't be here,
Yeah, I'm gonna be out most of that month. Sorry.
so I don't know who.
I guess the end goal
There's a
here.
Zoom thing going
right.
on.
Yeah, is that possible to put the link back?
I don't know how we would run a hybrid, that would be a hybrid meeting, because we'd be doing the in-person.
You talking about 1019? Which one are you talking about?
Well, the committee meeting would be October 12th.
Right, so you can't do,
Well, I mean, I don't know how we do a hybrid. I can't, there's no way I could manage dealing with Zoom going on the same time as this.
Yeah,
It's,
I could
Right, but didn't
manage
the
it.
lawyer-
If you could do
Coordinate
it.
with Pete, I'm sure he has to have some sort of input.
so
I don't know.
that's
Yeah.
But
the,
yeah, I mean, I don't mind doing that.
I appreciate that, because
And I think
tonight was
that's
hard for me.
fine.
I left.
Liz,
I left
Liz,
work.
do we all
Yes.
have to be here for the
And-
town board meeting?
So if we could make it,
let me, that's a good
accessible,
question. I want to get to that.
That would help.
So good. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up, because there may be other members that would participate in a hybrid fashion, so that some of us will be in the room and others will be, it's just, what I don't know is if we'll see them on
It would be absolutely
screen.
fine to do it that way. I don't think we'd have any issues in terms of meeting, any open meetings law or anything
Nope.
like that.
Nope.
The problem is that it would be an absolute chore for Pete from a videography standpoint. Because he'd have to get speakers up, he'd have to get a mic near the speaker in order to display the screen and record it, so that way people watching on YouTube would be able to hear the participation of the people who are
And
dialing
like
in.
even just like you guys hearing people who are on Zoom, the Zoom people hearing us in person.
Yeah.
Right,
I
and the
mean-
cameras would just pick up
Yeah.
that and up
Right.
and hear them.
I think we might want to hear from
Yeah,
Pete
we-
on this. Can we do a hybrid meeting on this, in person and over Zoom?
With how many people?
So right now,
Aye.
yeah.
That is the.
Town board on the 19th?
No.
Committee
No.
meeting.
Yeah, this is for
Fine.
October 12th. It's just the committee, but, some committee members are having a hard time.
If I know about it ahead of time.
It would be October
we can do it.
12th.
A lot of times what happened is I was thrown at the last minute, oh, so-and-so's gonna be on Zoom. And like Greg was just saying, I've got, that can plug into the sound system, but the idea is everybody has to hear each other crisscrossed. You have to hear and see each other, or it's not gonna be worth anything.
Yeah.
So,
Plus, we have in the past had some major audio feedback issues in this
Yeah.
room.
So
Because-
if I know you wanna do that,
so,
it's a lot easier for me to come in Tuesday afternoon, and if Greg's here, if not, I do it myself.
I can tell you
Bring
there,
my laptop in, and I'll crisscross it and make sure that we have no surprises at night, because I don't, Greg will tell you.
Well, no agree what to it now.
okay,
Because
so,
you gotta record it for the
Well,
public,
because
it's
your particular line of work is not immediately suited to last-second changes in logistics.
So-
It requires planning
Yeah.
and setup.
But we don't have the live TV aspect thrown into this, which.
I can give you the dates that I know right now, that one would be October 12th,
The other one's 26.
which is a committee meeting, and we would love to have it be hybrid. And the next one I know of is October 26th, also a Wednesday night.
Yeah. And so I'll do my best to configure my schedule, but right
Understood,
now
yeah.
we are,
Yeah, I mean,
It's-
the other
it's
nice
pressing.
thing about that is, there's a strong possibility by then you're gonna see the monitor right there, so. It's gonna be a lot easier to see.
But then we still have to configure a way that they can hear us while we're seated here. So we'll need a speaker and a mic. We'll also need a mic by the laptop.
I don't think it's gonna end well.
Yeah.
And unplugged.
sounds like I better get my ass.
Oh, see, we got the workaround now. Okay. Well done, well done.
And there might be a need for another hybrid meeting in November. I'm trying to find the timeline.
As long as it's not sprung out.
Here it is. No, we wouldn't need to do that for the town board.
I'll make a note,
So October 12th,
so we don't have any surprises.
And 26.
October 26th, and,
November 9th.
hang
So the
on,
other question is,
give me a
do
second.
you want me to use my Zoom license to do this? Since I can set it up?
I have a Zoom license, but I mean,
Sorry,
It doesn't
hang
matter.
on.
yeah, you could use my Zoom, that's
Okay.
fine, whatever.
So you'd have to put me down as a co-host, though.
Co-host.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So we're usually capacity.
Welcome to the committee.
Okay, hang on, I want to just get to November.
you're the co-host, you have to be in
Three
front of the
clicks.
map.
Yeah.
Establish that everyone around in the meeting.
Later.
Yeah, because
what
what
ends
ends
up
up
happening
happening is, like Greg was saying, we'll have a lot
How to
out
bring
there.
these things.
That's feedback.
Yeah.
October 26th.
Yeah, so we did that when we were at Fully Zoom. I would make Liz a co-host so she could do whatever needed to be done. So, yeah. That's something we could do like the night of, though. I'll just come early.
Okay, and another comprehensive plan update meeting,
Oh, yeah, I'll send you the link. Oh, yeah, of course, of course.
another,
But but I can set that up with my own Zoom just to practice.
Okay.
Just to make sure it's fine, and then
Okay.
we use your link.
All right.
yeah, and another one is November 9th. So the three dates when it's the committee that would need a hybrid meeting are October 12,
Election night.
October 26, and November 9.
You got that, Pete?
Do we, there's no issue November 9th with this room date, no, right? 'Cause that's election day.
No, November 8th is no election day. That's a Tuesday.
Town board should be meeting on the 2nd of November, so the 9th we'd be available here.
10th would be planning and zoning would be.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
The 15th.
Zoning
That's right.
would be the week after. And then town board would be.
And I hate to ask the committee to do one more thing, because you guys really have jumped in with
Oh, my gosh.
2 feet, knee deep. No, this is something you already have.
It's back
So
to ice cream time.
I had, I'll bring ice cream next time.
I like this guy.
On September something,
That's my bride.
I sent you an updated timeline.
He's talking.
Okay, it's okay. So there is an updated timeline in your inbox.
Oh, yeah.
You did
Sorry, set that.
that, you said the 10th.
So what was the task?
What task?
The
You're
task is
asking
that we
us-
have to find it in our email.
Oh,
Get the update.
I have that.
Yeah,
Okay,
that was it.
all right.
Get that flyer out. Get the
That's it.
flyer out.
Wait,
All right.
we gotta get the official.
Okay, so are we? We are adjourned. Thank you all.
That's good.
Yeah.